Graham and Alec, best of luck. All right, time now to meet the men and women's professional field. For the introductions, we hand it back to Gene Honda.
Please welcome our 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon Elite Field. Each year is a World Marathon Major. The top athletes from around the world come to Chicago to compete for one of the most prestigious titles in the sport. This 2014 Elite Field features 3 current world records, 7 World Marathon Major victories, and 1 past champion. Please welcome the following athletes to the start line. Headlining the women's field, Lisa Ewell of the United States, 2013 Bank of America Shamrock Shuffle champion, making her marathon debut. Amy Hastings of the United States, 2012 Olympian and winner of the 2014 Peachtree Road Race. Rohane Dibaba of Ethiopia, runner of the 2014 Tokyo Marathon. Mare Dibaba of Ethiopia, champion of the 2014 Xiamen International Marathon. Florence Kiplagat of Kenya, current half marathon world record holder and champion of the 2011 and 2013 Berlin Marathon. And Rita Jeptu of Kenya, the defending Bank of America Chicago Marathon champion. And headlining the men's field, Christo Landry, American 25K record holder and currently nominated for USATF Athlete of the Year. Wesley Korir of Kenya, champion of the 2012 Boston Marathon. Sammy Kidwara, third place finisher at the 2013 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Tadassa Tola of Ethiopia, champion of the 2014 Warsaw Marathon. Eliud Kipchoge of Kenya, winner of the 2014 Rotterdam Marathon. And Kenenisa Bekele, current 5,000 meter and 10,000 meter world record holder and champion of the 2014 Paris Marathon. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon Elite Field.
Morning temperatures right now in the 40s at 44 degrees right now. But here's a look at your Columbia Sportswear forecast. By 8 o'clock, temperature will be right around 47 degrees. 9 o'clock, we'll bump it up a couple degrees to 49. And at 10 o'clock, when some of those elite runners or even some of the regular runners are finishing by 10 o'clock, temperature will be at 50 degrees. So for us bystanders, we are a little chilly out here right now, but it's perfect for the athletes. Back to you, Ed, Mike, and Tony.
Okay, thank you very much, Alicia. We're going to hold you to your word about the weather. I know the racers are going to do as well. What is going through their minds right now, Tony and Ed?
Well, you know, I talked to Kenenisa Bekele yesterday, and he said, I asked him, do you feel the butterflies? Do you feel nervousness like everybody else? And he says, you know what? I just feel happy. I feel concentrated, and he's not nervous at all before the gun goes off.
And he's coming from the track and field background. This is something new for him. In this global event, really, 199 countries, everywhere from Albania to Zimbabwe.
It's easier to tell who's not here than who is here. The world is in Chicago. The world is watching the start of this great race.
45,000 athletes. On your mark. And we are officially underway, the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon, on a spectacular day here along the shores of Lake Michigan. An amazing skyline like no other. And if men and women were saying their prayers last night. All the people, that one thing they prayed about was good weather, and they've got it today.
Boy, fantastic conditions. You want to be kind of cold when you're standing on the starting line, and I guarantee that these runners are having an optimal day today. And it's such a good feeling when that gun finally sounds, the horn finally blows, and you are able to go, because many of these people have been working for over a year to get in a position to run a personal best time today.
I'm sure many of them didn't sleep last night. They have all this baggage that goes on in your head. Did I train long enough? Am I fit for this? Can I go the distance? All that, it completely evaporates once that gun sounds.
I'm telling you, the marathon gods are smiling on Chicago. We've seen the weather be from 30 degrees to 85, 90 degrees, where they had to stop the race that one year in recent years. But for 2 years in a row, we've had ideal weather. Last year, the field took advantage of that ideal weather and ran that 2:03.45 course record. That's in jeopardy today. What's also in jeopardy, though, is that long-standing 2:17.17 course record set by Paula Radcliffe back in 2002. Rita Jeptu and Lorna Kiplagat have the credentials to take a shot of that, and the way the Pacers have been set up on the women's side, they're going to go right after that 1:09 half marathon split, and that'll get them toward that course record. We'll see if they can do it.
And as we look at the men going underneath one of the bridges here in Chicago, we should mention that the course record is 2:03.45. That was set by last year's winner, Dennis Cometto, who just recently set the world record in Berlin last month.
Yeah, 1-2 last year in Chicago, went 1-2 a couple of weeks ago in Berlin, and they went the 2 fastest times in history. So the guys now, the Kenenisa Bekele, Eliud Kipchoge, Bernard Koech, Sammy Kidwara, etc., they all have a new standard to shoot after. It's a big standard, Ed, and the course record's pretty darn good as well.
Well, and you know, our level of expectation here at Chicago, I think over the, you know, course records have been set here 4 of the last 5 years, so we almost have that level of expectation year in, year out. We've really been spoiled, and quite frankly, at 2:03.45 now with that course record, that's a very, very fast course record, and they're really going to have to work hard to get it. But we definitely do have the talent in the field for that to happen, and when the conditions are just ideal.
Right. Everything has to fall right for these records to go. They're so tight right now. They're so good. And once you got the field, once you got the competition, then you need the pacing, and then you need the weather to fall right. And bingo, not only the temperature, it's that low wind, those dry conditions. Those are the key. Lack of humidity and lack of breeze. Because it's a loop course. If there's wind, it's going to get you one way or another. And from only 2 to 8 miles an hour, 8 miles out of the southeast, so it's more of a quartering breeze, nothing straight in your face.
The women's course record held by the great Paula Radcliffe. She set it in 2002, 2:17.18. And there's been a lot of whispering, not whispering, actually loud talk, that maybe somebody like a Rita Jeptu or Florence Kiplagat, that would be in
Boy, it's a rough. That's just, I mean, no one's ever gone under 2:18 in the marathon on the women's side except Paula Radcliffe.
Right.
So 2:17 and 18 seconds isn't just under 2:18. It's a long way under 2:18.
It's a real tall order, but the fact that they're planning on going through halfway in 69 minutes would equate, if they did that evenly, then it would be 2:18. So if they come through at 69 minutes and then pick it up and start duking it out, and I think with Florence Kiplagat and Rita Jeptu, it's a pretty good match. And so a lot of times for these course records to fall, not only do you have to have great conditions and good athletes, but you have to have great athletes that are racing over the last part of the marathon.
Okay, let's go to our marathon man in our men's lead vehicle, Greg Meyer. Greg, how's it shaking down so far?
It was amazing how quickly the lead pack just separated. Usually you see athletes looking around, talking, sort of getting a feel for that first mile. Not here. These guys seemed very, very focused, looking straight ahead. The intensity, to me, is here from the start. We passed through the mile at just under 4:40. They are on pace to run fast. And the thing that's caught my eye the most is the intensity right from the gun. The pace setters are up doing their job. Everybody right there, no one looking around. Very intense.
Greg, Greg, we just see that first mile split at 4 minutes and 34 seconds. They can't get over caffeinated, though, can they?
No, they can't. This is going to be a war of attrition. This isn't going to be somebody that's going to break away. It's going to be who falls off the back. And you're going to see, it's like global warming. How fast is this glacier going to melt? That's what's going to happen today. This pace from the start is just going to lose people off the back.
Yeah, I'm telling you, 4:34, and that's a little quick.
That's really dangerous, and in fact, suicidal.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that maybe the split was a little up, but the fact that they're going out that fast is just can really hurt you later on.
Isn't that usually the case at the start of the race, because there is so much tension, and you have a tendency to want to go out quicker?
Well, they've built it all up, and again, when you taper, in other words, you've come off your mileage, and the cream has now risen to the top, and your legs are itching to go. I mean, when you do double workouts for 3 months preparing for this, you're always tired. Now you really cut your mileage down to let your fitness come into play, and you can't wait to get going. Last year they ran 4:47 for the first mile. 14 seconds under that. You don't front load the marathon. You don't put money in the bank. You withdraw your principal when you go too fast early on.
Well, and as you look down now, I think we're looking at the women leaders right there, and you could see there for a minute. Now we're back to the men, but the men, I'm hoping that they're going to settle in, because if they roll off a couple of miles at 4:34, then they're going to get in danger. But you know, you go out fast that first mile, you settle in, and to me it looks like they've settled in a little bit more. We have the 3 rabbits in red. Those are our pace setters. Anyone that you see with a P50, P52, P51, those are our pace setters, and they're setting a nice pace, and I think they're going to settle in.
Just so you know, P50 is Eliud Bekele, the younger brother of Kenenisa Bekele. His training partner, Gurme Gebrselassie from Ethiopia, is P51. Geoffrey Karui of Kenya is P52.
So the journey has just begun, and we'll be back with more of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon after this timeout. Okay, Stefan, Tim Maloney did this race a year ago. I think he was pretty close to breaking the 4-minute mark as we look at the men's leaders at the moment right now, and you see the women's mile split after their last mile, 5:43.
Right, and you can see that the 3 pacers in front, P51, P50, P52, leading the way, not just setting the tempo, but sort of psychologically breaking the air a little bit. There's only about a 5 or 7% advantage to running behind somebody and cycling at the speed, and also in the wheelchair race, it's like a 30 or 40% advantage by having somebody cut the wind for you. But Ed, they had that second mile in 4:52. It could be the wind. We thought it was low wind conditions, but a 4:34 opening mile to a 4:52, that's a bit of a yo-yo.
Well, if you can average those two, then we have some good pace.
It's not hitting the time, it's the way the time is hit.
You want to be hitting it even. Yeah. And, you know, it's so nice if you're in that pack of 9 following the 3 pacers, just to be able to tuck in. You want to get those early miles out of the way just as effortlessly as possible, and you can one of our pre-race favorites is doing just that, running right behind that group of 3 pace setters.
Okay, let's go to the women's race and the women's lead vehicle, Joan Benoit Samuelson. What's shaking there, Joni?
They're a group of 5 women, including Florence Kipchoge a little bit out front, and Mari Dababa, Rita Jeptu, and Berhane Dababa, and not far off to the right, surprisingly, is American Amy Hastings, but she is running solo as opposed to running in that pack of 5. The first mile was a 5:17, and they dropped back to a 5:43, so I think they're just, you know, jockeying for position and testing each other at this point.
Yeah, and Joni, the pacers on the women's side, because they're wanting such a stern pace, are actually 2 Kenyan men.
Right. We have Simon Koski and Richard Keon. And they keep looking back.
Yeah,
they don't want to lose these women. They know they want to hit the 109 at the halfway mark, and I don't think they're going to get that mark unless the women start chasing the 2 pace setters. But now Amy has actually, wait a minute, we have something going on here. Amy Hastings has pulled ahead of all of them. Now remember, Amy's PR is a 2:27 and 10 minutes behind, And I'm really shocked to see Amy out here in front.
Joni, there's a lot of traffic there. Can the other women see that Amy has...
Well, I think they're seeing
is she
her
right
now.
in that group?
I think they're realizing that now. But her PR is so far off of theirs that I don't think they're that concerned. But you know what's happened in past history in some of these big marathons. You know, you let somebody get too far ahead, and then you never forgive yourself.
It's certainly a bold move by Amy Hastings, considering that her personal best time is some 8 minutes slower than Rita Jeptu's. So, but it's early, and I think they're just kind of settling in, I would guess.
Right.
Exactly. But Amy has been under the radar, and I know she's been training hard for this one. I think she would like to establish herself as one of the top American marathoners. She was 4th in the Olympic trials in Houston in 2012. So, you know, who knows?
Okay, let's go back to the men's race and the Xfinity World Record splits.
They went through 5 kilometers in 14:42. That's 3 seconds faster than last year's
record split.
Record split.
14:46.
And that's right in tempo. And right now, just the way it looks is they're right in position. And looking very good. The Pacers seem to have hit their marks a little bit more and are smoothed out just a little bit. Here's a look at our men's splits from Dennis Cometto's 2014 Berlin Marathon in September. And they had 5 men still together at the 20-mile mark, and that's what led to the record. There was racing to be done after they went out at world record pace and then surged off of that. So we're looking to hit halfway, just a little bit under. So they ran the second half in 61 minutes and 12 seconds after a 61:45 first half. So we're looking for more even splits, and that's the modern day of running marathoning. You run the second half of the race faster than the first half.
Negative split's always the way to go.
And we will be back with more of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon after a break. Stay with us. It's going to be a great day.
When you cross the finish line, we always want you to celebrate that, as that is, you know, the most amazing part of the race, and we want all our runners to be able to be celebrating that moment, but at the same time kind of thinking ahead. And one is you keep walking, you know, stay on your feet, keep walking, so that you know you don't develop any little symptoms of collapse, which is something that we can see. There's a situation called exercise-associated collapse where you stop running immediately, the blood kind of pools to your legs, and you can get a little lightheaded and dizzy. And for those reasons, I would recommend you continue to keep your head up, walk, and we'll have staff at that location to remind you of those circumstances. Start thinking about recovery. Start thinking about making sure you're getting protein in a high amount, as well as replacing the carbohydrates and as well as replacing the fluids. You know, the emotional component is a serious one. It's one where you set a goal and you set a date of October 12th, and sometimes you don't think beyond that. I think put a plan in place for the next couple of weeks after finishing the marathon. You know, put some dates on the calendar that week, even ride a bike, and have that on your calendar, and then even potentially pick a small 5K or 10K, maybe around Thanksgiving, to get into that race, and it'll keep you from kind of getting into a low. You've gone through, you know, 4 to 6 months of some hard training, and you've gone through a 26.2-mile run. So if you're having any sort of pain that is even persistent while just walking or standing, you shouldn't address those right away. And then obviously if there's any sort of issues that you're having that seem atypical or abnormal, make sure you see out your primary care physician and get those addressed.
You are looking at the men's field here at the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Early in the race here, but the pace that we're seeing right now so far has been pretty brisk.
4:46 for that 4th mile. That's faster than last year's 4th mile. And of course, last year we're comparing it to because that's the course record year. And that's pretty much the aim for both the men and the women, is see if those course records can be taken down. Now, as we said earlier, the men's record, though very stern, is more probable than the women's, because the women's is so strong by Paula Radcliffe in 2002.
All right, quickly, let's check in right now with Alicia Roman and more on today's weather. Alicia?
And right now we are seeing temperatures in the 40s. I do want to mention, though, as we're standing here on Columbus Drive, friends of ours are passing us by. Former EP at NBC Chicago, Matt Piacente, just ran by, and a couple of my girlfriends, our meteorologists around here, just ran by as well. Here's your Columbia Sportswear graphic. We're seeing temperatures right now at 44 degrees, so it is a bit chilly out there, but perfect for the runners. The winds are at their backs right now as they run right past us here on Columbus at the southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and will stay at their back, a light breeze, as we continue to go through at least mile 2 toward mile 7 before they make that turn onto Addison. So we'll continue to keep those temperatures in the 40s for now, and then by the end of the race, by 10 o'clock, in the upper 40s, right around 50 degrees. We'll send it back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Alicia. Let's go now to our Xfinity women's world record splits. They'll pop up here sooner or later.
Honest to goodness. But Amy Hastings in the lead. You can say 32.01. That's like 5:10 per mile pace.
And that's such an amazing world record at 2:15. That's
2 minutes faster than the second fastest time, also held by Paula Radcliffe here in Chicago, and that's 1.5 minutes faster than any other woman in history's ever run.
And I don't know that anybody in this field is planning on trying to hit that time today. I think if they came anywhere close to the course record time of 2:17, they'd be very happy. This is exciting, though, to see Amy Hastings up there. And initially we were wondering, well, is she just going in way over her head? But factoring in what she went through 5K in 17:14, she's running a right about 2 hours and 25-minute pace, which is very much within her wheelhouse of ability.
It would be 2 minutes lower than her personal best right now, 2:27.17, that she did in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but that was years ago in 2011, and that was her debut marathon, in which she got second place. But she's been training in Providence, Rhode Island for the last couple of years. She's training with 2 world-class athletes and a world-class coach. Ray Tracy, Providence College coach from Ireland, and he's Molly Huddle, a great American track runner. Kim Smith from New Zealand, a great runner as well. So Amy's got great training partners, a great coach, and she's had a great build-up to this particular marathon. So her goals are being well established. She's running well within herself. The big surprise isn't Amy. It's Rita Jeptu and Florence Kiplagat, Mari Dababa, etc.
Right, but I think they have her in their sights. If you look back behind her to the left, you can see that pack of women runners that are lurking there. And the only danger would be if they were unaware that Amy was ahead of her at this point in time.
Well, as you know, one of the things that makes the Chicago track so unique here, 29 different neighborhoods this marathon weaves its way in and out of, and right now Carol Marine is in one of them. Carol?
Yeah, Mike, I'm in Lincoln Park. We're just ahead of the elite runners, the men. Part of the joy of running this race is the experience of seeing the city, neighborhood by neighborhood. The energy of the crowd just washes over you. One high-profile elite runner who knows this firsthand is Tara Moody. She's a St. Charles native who in 2010 had a top 10 finish in this race. So Tara is sitting it out today. We recently met up to take our own little mini marathon tour and talk about what these runners are seeing and hearing.
And an overhead look of the men's field here at the Bank of America Chicago Marathon.
The classic diamond formation with the 3 wedged pacers out front and the real contenders leading in below.
And we'll be back with more of this year's 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon after a break. Glad you're watching us here on NBC5.
Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us on Cozy TV and NBCChicago.com. I'm Alicia Roman, and as you can hear, the crowd behind me, the runners have ran through already the first wave. The crowd is here cheering them on. Not a whole lot happening right now. We are in the first mile stretch, so right off of the finish line, we're on Columbus Drive, where it is pretty calm for right now. The elite runners have gone through, the wheelchair runners have gone through, and then the first wave has already passed through right now. A lot of excitement in the air for this race. Of course, this is my third Chicago Marathon, so very excited. The weather has panned out perfectly. This morning we do have mostly sunny skies. Winds will be at their backs just for the first mile, and then as they get onto mile 2 up to about mile 7 before they turn on to Addison, the winds are out of the southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and the temperatures right now staying in the mid-40s, right around 44 degrees. So that's right now, and throughout the course of the race, the temperature should go up to about 48 degrees. Perhaps by 10 o'clock we'll be in the upper 40s to low 50s. The winds, though, the good news is the winds will stay calm. Some squinting because of the full sunshine right now may occur in some of those spots along that 26.2 mile course. Of course, though, the rain stays far away from us this morning, so that's the other bit of good news that we have with concerns of the weather this morning. The rain, though, we are forecasting that, but that's to come later on into the afternoon and evening hour, especially after 4 o'clock. So for the runners right now, yes, it's a little chilly for us, all our the bystanders here and the spectators taking in the Chicago Marathon, but for the runners, it's quite perfect for them. Their bodies will heat up to about 20 degrees warmer than what the actual air temperature is, so it will feel more like 65 degrees for them as they continue to go through the rest of the course of the race. So throughout the marathon, we are looking at those temperatures to stay in the upper 40s to right around 50 degrees as we head toward the 10 o'clock hour. That's an update from here. We'll talk back or get another check of the weather in a few moments.
Welcome back to the Bank of America Chicago Marathon as we look at the men's field right now.
What a day, huh?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, man.
The city looks glorious. Although these athletes, Ed, for the most part, people say, well, how'd you like the course and how'd you like the beauty of the city?
What course?
And they pay no attention. They're monitoring that pack so tightly that they're oblivious of almost anything outside their margins.
Well, and the men have been very consistent at running right at course record time. They hit 4:46, 4:43, 4:44 for their last few miles, and to hit that course record, they've got to average about 4:43 per mile. So you can tell that they're going for their water bottles, their fluid stations, and that's a good sign as well.
Well, we've got a whole other group of people who are waiting, just waiting to get started. The second wave start. There they are, the masses. This is the moment they've been waiting for.
And it's these wave starts which allow 45,000 people to be on the course simultaneously.
And they are off. The common man, the common woman, about to do something very uncommon, set a PR, whatever it is. This is the moment they've been waiting for. You know, since 1977, the very first race here in Chicago, 623,590 runners have finished this race.
Yeah, it's astounding. It used to be, if you used to, back in 1980, there were 25,000 marathon finishers in the United States. If you went to a party and said that you were a marathon runner, oh my goodness, you were like the star of the day. Now you're every other Joe. I mean, this fitness revolution has just spread.
Well, exactly. Now the question is, how many marathons have you run? Not have you run a marathon?
Yeah. And what was your time? What was your split time now? Yeah.
No, it really has taken over the world in many ways. I mean, we have the World Marathon Major Series that goes on. Every major city in the world is represented with a marathon. But I'm telling you, Chicago is absolutely at the top of the heap.
Well, it's, you know, it's the only sport where you can compete on the same playing field, so to speak, as the pros do.
Well, you know where you stand, that's for sure. You know exactly where you stand. When somebody, I mean, a couple of weeks ago in Berlin, somebody sets the world record, and there's 30,000 people in that race. Well, I know where I was, exactly where I was. You don't hypothesize, of course, you being a pro athlete yourself, but everyone else that watches the games on Sunday, etc. We can hypothesize as to what we might do out there besides get killed. But in this sport, you know exactly where you stand against the best in the world.
Yeah.
And here they are, the best in the world, with our three pacers leading the charge. They went through 10 kilometers in 29 minutes and 27 seconds. That is 6 seconds slower than the 2013 record, but right in line. They're right in line.
Yeah, that's what they need to be doing. They're very close. They're within a few seconds of that, and they've got a nice rhythm going. So if they can continue that rhythm going, I think we really have a good shot at a course record time.
That's Wesley Career wearing the Kenya colors in the back of this pack. And of course, what wasn't stated when we interviewed him earlier this year, a remarkable human being, not just the 2012 Boston Marathon champion, but between 2012 and 2013, he ran for parliament and won a seat as a member of the Kenyan parliament. That's like a world-class American athlete becoming a congressman in the middle of their elite professional career. Just
They're
a
like
stunning,
Bill Bradley, yeah.
A stunning young man.
Let's take a look at the men's Xfinity world record splits right now. This is what Dennis Cometto did last month in Berlin.
And so 29-24 was their 10K split here today in Chicago. 29-27 right there. So it's that kind of day. And so that's why we're a little bit squirrely here, and we're a little bit anxious, and our stomach, even here, is a little bit of butterflies, because there's no telling what we might see.
Well, that being the case, we're going to let you get rid of your butterflies to a certain extent right now. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon after this timeout.
The Bank of America Chicago Marathon has a tremendous positive economic impact on the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to our coverage of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. And as the runners head north, we find our own Kai Martin stationed in Lakeview. And we know about that particular point, the 8-mile mark. A lot of crazy stuff going on out there. Kai?
Well, Mike and Tony, everything here is building. The elites are literally about a block away from us here at mile 8 at Broadway and Aldine. In fact, here we have the lead motorcade right now, so we're probably going to get a nice live shot of the leaders of this race. But as you described, Mike, Lakeview has so much personality as everyone cheers for some of the wheelchair racers coming through here. We have many, many colorful characters who have come out here to cheer on the race. We have techno music. We have great spectators and volunteers that call Lakeview their home and love to contribute to this aid station. The station here has many of the 12,000 volunteers for the marathon, and we are so excited. Again, we can see the helicopters overhead, so we know the elites are close here in Boys Town, and we'll be ready. Mike?
Okay, thank you very much, Kai.
Look at that wind. We saw that banner. Now they're heading south on the course right now. The breeze that we do have out there on the course today is coming from the southeast, and that's going to hit all the way, that whole southern flank, from all the way from that 8-mile mark all the way to 23 miles is south. And so that's where they're going to hit the wind when they turn back on Michigan toward the last 5 kilometers, last 3 miles of this race. They'll have a bit of the push.
Okay, you can see him in the corner of the screen. Let's go to our men's lead vehicle and Greg Meyer. Greg? We've lost communications with him. He's there, but the audio isn't there.
And I think we've already seen that Wesley Career, I think, might have, what we've seen, we saw one athlete drop off, and from the colors, it looks like it might have been Wesley Career. Being a member of Parliament, this guy's a 2:06 man, former second-place finisher here, fifth-place finisher, winner of Boston. The problem is, as a member of Parliament, he can't do nearly the training that he did when he was just a full-time professional athlete, and that's what's telling. But he's given up in his athletic career in many ways for a higher cause, and that's what makes him so special.
All right, let's check in on the women and go to our women's lead vehicle and Joan Benoit Samuelson. Joni.
She and Greg are having lattes.
Yeah.
It is. But I think what's happening is the story here on the women's side, just as we get our pictures together, is Amy Hastings from Providence, Rhode Island, where she is living and training right now. Amy Hastings has a 15-second lead after the 10-kilometer mark, 6.2 miles. Now, they're nowhere near the pace that they anticipated. They're about 3 minutes, off that at just the halfway mark, Ed. Yeah. And Amy Hastings is, because it's a mixed race, the women in the men's, overall field, it easily could be that she got snuck away. The other athletes are looking at just at the two men pacers in front of them, don't even realize she's out there, or if they realize she's out there, they're seriously.
Well, what has to happen is the men pacers have to do a better job because they're running so much slower than they should be. It should be that Amy Hastings, who is just on record to run a personal best.
But nothing screwy.
Yeah, exactly. She's running at 2 hours and 25-minute pace, which is very much within her wheelhouse. But the elite women are being almost retained or had a governor put on them by the men pacers. So the men pacers need to pick up their act a little bit.
Well, the women got to go slap them on the backside and say, come on, the men, pick it up. I mean, it's up to the women to also know where they are. At the same time, we very much saw a historical moment at the Boston Marathon this April when Meb Keflezighi became the first American in 31 years to win the Boston Marathon title, because the guys, the Kenyans and Ethiopians behind, didn't take it, and they let it get too big of a margin. Yeah. You can't let this go too long, but you still think the women can run her down.
Okay, let's go back to the Lakeview neighborhood, and our Kai Martin is standing by. Special couple of guests.
That's right, Mike. I'm here with Captain Matt Schneider. He's with the National Guard stationed in here in Chicago, the Army National Guard. How are you, Captain?
Doing great. How are you?
Great. And we have some folks here with American flags in the background. Of course, he is supporting his team with the National Guard running in today's race. What's it like being out here?
I mean, it's an amazing day to be out here supporting everybody, the really fast runners. Also, always great to support the Team RWB guys that are running, military veterans out here still contributing to the community.
Now, do you know who is running or racing with Chicago, with the Chicago National Guard? Do you know how many from who are stationed here in Illinois?
I'm not exactly sure how many are running, but there's always a lot of military presence at these sort of things. Veterans like to continue to go out and be active and contribute even after their service, and it's always good to see the opportunity for them to do that.
And sir, what was your name again?
AJ Schneider.
Welcome back to the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. The men went the 9th mile in 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Let's go to the men's lead vehicle and Greg Meyer. Greg?
We're starting to see a little attrition here. Wesley, as you saw, dropped off about a mile or so ago, was way back. Right now, Lalese is fighting to stay close to the pack. He's about 5 yards back. Everyone else seems to be running well. Kitwara and Kipchoge seem to be having some discussion every now and then, but they're about the only two that actually have communicated back and forth. It's very intense, really, and you can see it's starting to string out or open up.
Well, doggone. That's the nature of communications here in 2014. We can let you know at the 15-kilometer mark, that's 9.3 miles. They went through in 44:13. That's 15 seconds slower than in 2013. But once again, the breeze that does exist is now coming into their face as we lose. Now, Faisa Lalisa, who's been on the podium twice here, the third in that unbelievable race in 2010 between Sammy Wanjiru, the late great, and Sergei Kebede. He was third. And he's been second in 2013. Well, in 2012, rather, he missed most of 2013. He dropped out of the World Championships. He dropped out of a fall marathon in Frankfurt, Germany. This year in London in April, he only was 9th place in 2013. He had some injuries. He was hoping to do better than London, and but it's a long way from sub 208 back to 203, 204 pace.
All right, let's take this time here to take a look at the world record Xfinity splits, world record splits. Again, Dennis Cometto's Berlin Marathon back in September.
44:10. We're just 3 seconds off of that here in Chicago. But what they did in Berlin is they had a relatively controlled, by these standards, relatively controlled first half of the race, and then busted it out hard in the second half, and especially the last 5-6 miles. That's where the record was really set, in that 18 to 21 mile gap.
Right. Okay, do you know that it was 30 years ago today that Stevie Jones taught the field to play? Steve Jones, a great runner from Great Britain, back in 1985, 2:07.13, which was a new course record at the time. But what people don't kind of remember is that the year before, 1984, you set a world record here in Chicago. What do you remember most about those days?
It was raining. It was raining. It's really cool. It was a different course back then, of course. But you know, it was just a great day for running. I trained well in Park City, Utah, before coming here, and I was prepared. I knew I had to race Rob DiCostello and Carlos Lopez, and I just knew that if over the last 10K, I don't think they could beat me. And well, I had my plan and stuck to it.
Steve, in today's race, you're seeing 3 pace setters that are out there helping the guys run fast. Woo. But back in the day, I don't think you had those pace setters, at least not for long.
In '84, we didn't, no.
The last world record without pace setters, by the way.
Oh, but thanks for that info. I'll put that in the book. Back in '84, we didn't have any pacemakers. We only had 8,000 people in the race, I believe. '85, they brought one pacemaker in, Carl Thackeray from England, who showed flashes of brilliance in his career. But he only lasted the first 3 miles, and I ran the rest of the race by myself.
And you crushed him in that first 3 miles.
Yeah.
But Steve, your race in '84, when the race brought in Carlos Lopez from Portugal, who was just that summer in Los Angeles, the Olympic champion. Rob DiCostello, the '83 world champion.
And world record holder.
And it brought Chicago into the big time in marathon.
I think it did. It opened the doors for, you know, good prize money, good appearance money, and what Bob Wright did in '83, '84, and '85 was he put on a great foot race, and I think that's what we should be doing now.
Yeah, that was the old race director back in the day. And then Kerry Pinkowski was working in Chicago as the liaison with the Chicago Area Runners Association, has now taken this 8,000-person race and developed into a 45,000-person race, and also having one of the fastest fields every year on this field.
Every year, you know, the best runners in the world still come to Chicago.
And that's become the tradition that you started back then. But are you surprised? Are you surprised by the times these guys run these days?
No, because if you go back and look at my '85 race, I think even at 19 miles, I was still on 2:03 pace. So I came that close to doing it myself. So I know I figured that they're capable of doing it.
Besides the times, what's changed the most in this sport?
It's very commercialized. There's a lot more great runners around now than there was back in my day. And also, because the bar is set so high now, it's always a field of a field of excellence. You know, everybody's performing really well, and you get the best people in the world.
One of the things that has changed, though, Steve, in 1984, the top 10 places in the race, a different country in every position. Nowadays, it's turned into kind of a dual meet between Kenya and Ethiopia.
Like I say, I think the bar has been risen so high that I think most people think it's out of their reach. You know, back in my day, and Carlos's and Deke's, the bar was just a little bit above us, and we kept chipping away at that. And I think there's fundamentally a coaching and a training philosophy that needs to be adapted to raise the standard in the other countries. It's still great to see great foot races, and these guys are putting on a great race right now. It's good for the sport, I think.
Okay, our Greg Meyer is on the men's lead vehicle, and I know he wants to be part of this conversation. What do you remember most about the marathon man?
He's a tough guy, you know. I spent some time with Greg over the years. We've trained together a little bit. I've stayed at his house and his place on the lake. We've had great fun over the years. Very tough competitor. Unbelievable finish when he's in there with a chance, and I always relish racing against him.
Yeah. Well, Greg's on the men's lead vehicle. It looks like we've got a pretty good clear view of what's going on there, Greg.
We do, and I think everybody right now is still running within themselves. The pace is really high, 2:04, 2:05, so nobody should be dropping off. Lalesse seems to be struggling the most. He drops back, pulls back up again, but everybody looks comfortable at this pace, but they should, because I think they've fallen off course record pace, they're going to have to pick up that second half, which is what we expect to see happen.
Okay, thanks, Greg. And Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you.
Welcome.
All right, congratulations on the glory days, man.
Hey, thank you.
All right, let's check in with Kai Martin and more on the weather. Kai?
What was that? 90?
Alicia, excuse me.
Mike. Anyway, to give you a little bit of perspective, I'm within the first mile. The start line is just down the road. We're on Columbus Drive. You see the runners right behind me waving to us, saying hello to us. Very inspirational to see them at this point. Just getting started, though, right around the bend on Grand. That's when they hit their first mile. Temperatures, though, for us out here, we're in the 40s, the mid-40s right now. There is a light breeze out of the southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. So it's at their backs right now. And as they go through the course of the race, 48 degrees, that will be the temperature for most, even as we head through the next couple hours or so. But once they get to mile 8, the wind will be at their face. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few moments, and we'll send it over to you.
Well, it's a 2:25 pace.
Yeah, just to put
And we'll be back with more of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon after a break.
They did it all at one time. I think they realized you can't do more than 25,000 because it just gets too bunched up. And so now when they go on and wave start after wave start after wave start, more people who want to get into these marathons can actually be accommodated on the street.
Guys who do matter there. You can see the Kenyans in the orange jerseys. That would be Sammy Kitwara and Bernard Koech. In the lime green, our favorites, Bekele, Kipchoge, and Lalesa from Ethiopia.
And they're tucked away in that pack. They're still been content not to go out in the lead or even be right behind the rabbits. So I think they're doing what needs to be done right now. Their pace that they're on right now is just right a little bit under 2:05 pace, but they're setting themselves up for a fast finish.
One of the differences, again, last year, as I'm looking at my notes from last year's race, last year the wind was coming from the northwest at about 9 miles an hour. This year it's coming from the southeast. So it was pushing them throughout the whole midsection of the race and only against them in the final 5 kilometers. So it was, in that sense, the wind direction was more advantageous last year, and that's why it might be a little bit slower times through this entire stretch south on the course.
All right, let's go to the women's lead racers right now. Joni?
Well, the African women are back in the lead. Amy Hastings fell back at about just around the 8 mile mark. But in the lead pack, we have, of course, Rita and the 2 Dababas. And Florence Kiplagat is at the leading edge right now. And Jaletta Burka is still in that lead pack. They're looking very smooth. I don't think they're going to hit their goal time of 109 at the half. They're probably on 224 pace right now, having just gone through 10 miles. But I think we're definitely going to see negative splits here today, especially if they're going to run sub 220, as 3 of these runners have already done.
Joni, when you were in the game, you did not have pace setters at all. I'm not sure you would have paid attention to them at all. Can it be a distraction? How much of a help is it, and how much do you sort of over-depend on them sometimes?
Well, I think Rita is in her own little world. I mean, she is eyeing her competition. I think she was very concerned with Amy at first, but the pack moved together. The Pacers are still with their respective runners. Joe Moore is with Amy Hastings, and she has held on to this lead pack. She really looks strong. She looks comfortable. She seems to be nodding to the crowd, saying, I'm okay, I'm in this race. And the others are looking very carefully at their fluid bottles at the respective fluid stations, and they're now starting to take water with every opportunity. So I think the pace setters are now getting it. They're looking back at the woman more regularly, and they're doing their job. Maybe not so much at the beginning of the race.
All right, thanks, John. Let's go to the men's lead vehicle, Greg Meyer. Greg, what's up?
A little bit of separation as we went through the last water stop. Like the women, I think the pace setters have thrown this off a little bit. You can see Kipchoge and others sort of move to the front like, why aren't we running faster? And then they'll drop back a little bit, but it's like they're prompting the pacers to let's get going, let's get going. Lalese still hanging on. I don't know how he's doing this. He drops back, catches up, but everyone else seems fairly comfortable. But I do think the pace setters at times have let this slow just slightly as we try to come into the half marathon, which should be in another 2 or 3 minutes.
All right, Greg, well, here's the Xfinity world record splits for 20K.
Well, 20K, 58.36. Today, 58.58. Last year, so they're a little bit off. Last year, we're 26 seconds off. Today, we're 26 seconds slower than we were in 2013.
But still, at 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 25-second pace. So
we said earlier, this record, do not take this stuff for granted, because this record is very, very strong.
Exactly.
And we saw earlier, like Greg was saying, the men's pacers were getting like goosed a little bit by the men. And again, the whole idea is to be as even in this as possible, because psychologically, what you're looking to have the runners do is be able to turn their brains off, and so they can save their concentration and their power for the racing late in the day. And if they're constantly have to be thinking about, are we going not just too fast, but maybe too slow, now you bring them, you're engaging them in something that you don't want them engaged in.
Yes. For the viewers who haven't seen this before, at what point do the pacers drop off, guys?
One guy will go 13 miles, another guy will go to 15 and a half, and hopefully they're going to get somebody all the way to 18 and a half miles.
So a look at the lead men right now, and we'll have more of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon after a break.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on Cozy TV and NBCChicago.com. You can hear it, all the cheering right behind me as these runners continue to pass through. This is on Columbus Drive. Now, the start line is just a little ways down, so they are within their first mile out of 26.2 of this race. So they are just getting started right now. A lot of excitement in the air as a lot of these runners continue to pass through, and a lot of the crowd really hyping them up as they continue to go through, but they still have a long way to go. As we mentioned, this is just the first mile right around the corner on Grand. That's where they hit their first mile. So then we'll see more of that excitement continuing as we go through the rest of the villages here for the Chicago Marathon. Let's talk quickly about the weather. Right now, we are in the 40s. We're in the mid-40s at this time. I want to let you guys know that there is a light breeze out there. The winds are out of the southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, so it will be at their backs for the start of the race, but then as they get toward the middle of the race, they will be running right into that light breeze. Now the winds should stay anywhere from about 5 to 10, perhaps even up to 15 miles per hour as we go through the course of the next couple hours, but really not supposed to get any more gustier than that. Temperatures, as I mentioned, we are in the mid-40s right now, but then we'll continue to see those temperatures gradually increase into the upper 40s to right around 50 degrees by the end of the race. By 10 o'clock, when most of the elites will be finishing, the temperature will be at 50. So even though it's a little chilly for us bystanders, the spectators out here, it's perfect for them. The temperatures will be quite comfortable for them as they get their body warmed up and revved up to go. But as I mentioned, we'll see the temperature staying in the 40s throughout the course of the morning and into the early afternoon to right around 50 degrees. This is just a look right now at mile 1, and that was a quick look at weather for you. We'll continue to bring you updates throughout the rest of the morning.
Welcome back to the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. You are looking at the lead men's field right now, and we go to our Greg Meyer. Greg?
Nothing's changed, really. These guys, I think it's the storm is building for when they get to about 18 miles, because no one seems to be wanting to press the pace. As you talked about, we're about 30 seconds off record pace, but it seems like they're more concerned about who's going to win this thing. They look around, they're sort of eyeing one another just to see who's in position, who's looking good. And right now, pretty much everybody looks good in the pack.
Well, these are brand new pacers, Greg. You look at it, you know, pacing is a very difficult thing. It's one thing to run a time. It's another thing to run the time evenly and so that it puts everyone at ease. And these guys have been yo-yoing just a little bit. Have you seen flags? It seems to me that what breeze there is might be somewhat into their left shoulder.
Tony, the breeze doesn't seem to be that big of a issue out here. You know, when I look around, I'm not seeing it, and I thought I'd be much colder with the breeze, and I'm not. So I really do think, and Gabriel Selassie, one of the pace setters, he was waving guys up a couple of miles ago and say, come on, let's go, let's go. But no one wanted to step up and run that pace. So I think they're just sort of set, this is what it is today. I do think you're going to see some very fast running when we get past that 25, 30 kilometer mark, because then it's going to be a race for the home, as it always is here.
Fine. It looks like Kenenisa Bekele, one of our pace setters, has passed the halfway and taken the bus home.
Yeah, we're down to 2.
Let's take this opportunity. All right, thanks, Greg. Let's take this opportunity right now to go to our Carol Marine. Carol?
Hello there. We are just out of Greek town, moving into Little Italy. We're just about 200 feet in front of the men elite runners. I've been counting Elvis impersonators greeting them as we've been making our way through the city. I count 6 so far. It has been just an amazingly generous and welcoming crowd all the way through here, Mike. Sun's beginning to shine on us a little bit, and I'm just laughing at some of the people. They are just having more fun greeting these runners and telling them to keep on trucking on. Back to you, Mike.
Careful of those Elvis impersonators. Thank you very much.
I'll do my best.
All right. Let's check in with Joan Benoit. Samuelson.
Well, not much has changed over here as we just hit mile 12. We have the 5 women abreast. Amy is falling further behind at this point. They have picked up the pace. I would say we're on around a 2:23 to a 2:23:30, but they are way off their goal time of 1:09 at the halfway mark. They went through the 12-mile mark in about 1:06. So this is going to be a race. As Greg said earlier, I think the women's race is also going to be a race of attrition unless somebody makes a bold move. I think the smoothest looking runner right now is Mari Dababa. Rita is right there, but you know, literally and figuratively, they're holding their hands close to their chests. And I think part of the issue is that it's still cold out here for the women runners.
Who's the 5th woman in there, Joni? Is it Galeta Burka from Ethiopia?
Well, actually, she's maybe a step ahead of Rita at this point, but it is Galeta Burka.
So it's the two Dababas, Florence, Rita, and Burka.
Yes. And I would say Amy is probably 8 seconds behind at this point. She's running a very impressive race.
Absolutely.
This will be a PR for her if she can hold on.
All right, let's take a break here and take a look at the Xfinity World Record splits for women.
Yeah, this is another time zone.
Yeah,
here.
A true standard deviation above everyone else. And certainly the women are going to close fast today because I think we have enough of them running together, and they've run conservative enough early on, but we're not going to approach Paula Radcliffe's
No,
world
but you know, I'd rather have, again, we've had 4 men's course records in the last 5 years, and yet the best race was the non-course record year in 2010 when Sergei Kebedy and Sammy Wajiro had that tremendous duel for the World Marathon Majors $500,000 title. Nobody could look at the clock because the compelling competition was too great, and that's what it's stacking up on both the men's side and the women's side as the women go for their aid station bottles. Competition between carbon-based life forms is always more interesting than one person running a time trial.
Yeah, at some point in time, you just stop the stopwatch and you watch the race.
You know, Kenyans have become the leaders in marathon running across the globe. In addition to charity running, has become an integral part of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, with 190 charity teams slated to participate this year. One of these teams is Team Oasis, a local group running to rescue orphans in Kenya.
One, two, three, go Team Oasis!
Our mission is to rescue and develop orphan children spiritually, physically, economically, educationally. There are 2.4 million orphans in Kenya alone due to the AIDS epidemic primarily. We went into the slums of Kibera. We saw the homeless children. We saw what happens to these children. And having seen that, and then know that I can do something, even if it's just a little bit, I can't quit now. We are building our second children's home. It's called The Shelter. This year we are running for homes 3 and 4. We want to build these children's homes that become a place where we can rescue the most vulnerable of children. We went to Kenya last November. I took my 13-year-old daughter and we went for almost 2 weeks. And it was an amazing experience. We've sponsored Rose and Lawrence, and they were yelling "Mom" as they ran towards me and gave an amazing hug, just pure and total love. We had a sponsored son. His name is Edward. We have been so blessed to actually see Edward every single year. We write letters to him. He writes letters to us. Every sponsor in the Oasis program feels very closely connected with their kids. It's a really powerful feeling to connect running with a cause.
It's not my goal to cross anymore because I know I can do it. I've done it before. My goal now is to finish so that I can help them.
This is Carol Marine. I'm in the lead truck of the Chicago Marathon, just ahead of the men's elite runners. They've been running for 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 17 seconds at this moment. We're at mile marker 15, which is Damon Avenue. It's surrounded by Malcolm X College. It has been an amazingly clear day, a nice kind of cool run. But the question is whether we will break any world records here in the Chicago Marathon. This time around, we have 45,000 runners participating. The average age, I'm always so interested in this, of the men runners is 39.5. The average age of the women, just a little younger, 35.6. And yes, there are 4 people who are 80 years or older who are running this marathon. Right ahead of me are the men's elite runners, and behind them, a lone cyclist rider. It is just amazing to see the strength and the power and also the contrast. There have been a number of blind runners who have been doing this marathon. They are paired with sighted people just to make sure there is some degree of safety, but it is a level of determination in the face of every single one of these people, no matter what category they fall into. And you can hear perhaps as we're going through neighborhoods now, right by Malcolm X, people cheering and calling. There are cowbells, there are cheerleaders, there are Elvis impersonators. Yes, Elvis is out here in about 25 different iterations of what Elvis might be looking like these days. In some of these neighborhoods, there are fewer people, but no matter whom we see, it is great generosity in the city of Chicago. For the Chicago Marathon and NBC5, I'm Carol Marine.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Just a little perspective on my location. We're outside the NBC Tower. We're right on Columbus Drive. Across the street from me is the Sheraton Hotel. We're within the first mile, so you can see everybody has picked up to go find and meet their loved ones throughout the rest of this 26.2-mile course. The runners have ran through, and the weather is staying calm. Right now, as we take a look at your Columbia Sportswear weather forecast, temperature by 9 o'clock will be at 49 degrees. Right now, we stay in the mid-40s at 49 degrees by 9 o'clock. When we start to wrap things up, when the elites start coming in, the first round of runners start coming in about 10 o'clock, temperature will be right around 50 degrees. As we've been mentioning all morning, there has been a wind out of the southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll send it back over to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. A year ago at this time, Tony Revis was on the men's lead vehicle, and he was talking about this man that is sitting to our left, Dathan Ritzenhein, who wound up finishing 5th last year in a time of 2:09.45. His best time was the year prior to that in 2:07.47, but he finished 9th. It's a funny business, the world of marathon running, huh?
Yeah, it just totally depends on how the race sets up, how the course is, but how the weather is, you know. And for me, these guys last year, they went out so fast that I was buried back there, but they just completely unraveled at the end because it was so fast.
Dathan, your take on what you've seen so far?
You know, they started out really aggressively that first mile, and now they settled in, but as they've gotten going again towards this middle half of the race here, it's really heating up now. So I'm kind of wondering if we won't see quite as big of a move than maybe we saw like 2 years ago when they really ratcheted it down and then they made a lot of time back up.
What do you think about the fact that they just threw down a 4:34 mile? Is that gonna do some damage?
That's early at this stage. A lot of times in these marathons in the last couple of years, you've seen that maybe after the pacemakers drop out, and so it's kind of interesting to see that this early on.
Well, pacing is a tough game, as we said before. People take for granted that if you can run a very fast half marathon, we'll just do that here. But it's one thing to run it fast in competition, another thing to try to do it in a controlled fashion. Psychologically, a lot of pressure on those guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a livelihood for them, too. Those pacemakers up front, this is going to be determined if they get the next gig where they make money, you know, maybe at the next major marathon where they can pace, too, because a lot of times these guys do this specifically for a living.
Now, of course, Dathan, you've recently moved back home to Michigan from your Oregon base for the last few years. How's that going for you?
That's been good. I mean, both me and my family are from there, so when we came back to run Chicago here the last 2 years, it kind of felt like hometown for me. And so to be able to come back again, now I've been over here in Chicago 4 or 5 times. I've seen Mike a few times here, you know, in the last couple months, and so it's exciting for me. It kind of feels like a hometown thing for me to be back.
You know, when I watched you last year and the year prior, from a gamesmanship standpoint, how difficult was it to be the only American in that elite field when you've got 3 Kenyans going against you, 3 Ethiopians against you?
Well, that's the thing that makes these major marathons so hard. It's like in the Olympics, where in the Olympics you have maybe your 3 other teammates. There's only 3 Kenyans. There are only 3 Ethiopians. So here, it's really very hard. You're in a pack there with these guys. They talk to each other. You don't know what they're saying. You know, so as an American, you're kind of at a disadvantage there.
We have a lot of Americans in the field here today, but we don't have the same quality of Dathan or the Meb Keflezighi or the Ryan Hall. But there's a whole bunch of guys who are here trying, both men and women, trying to qualify for the Olympic trials. There's an A standard and a B standard. In fact, Ed, you have one of your runners here from BYU.
Yeah, I mean, that B standard has gotten, they've upped the ante a little bit. They've got to run 2 hours and 18 minutes, I believe, 2 hours and 15 minutes to get the A standard. What do you think about having the A standard set that fast?
Well, you know, the Olympic trials, it's really supposed to be a small focus group. It's the people that really are going to make the team. And so some of the guys like that we see here, you know, they want to make that time no matter what, but really they want to establish themselves in a year and a half to really make that team. And so, you know, they're coming to a fast race like this. That 2:15 is, you know, everybody else is getting faster. The world record keeps coming down. We got to keep bringing our standards down too as well to try to be as competitive as possible. If we just keep where we've been at the last ones, we'll never get there. And so we have to keep bringing it down, just like the East Africans have been too.
Okay, as we look at the men's leaders, let's go down to our men's lead vehicle and Greg Meyer. Greg, what's going on?
You know, it's just been interesting to watch Lelese fall off the back, and then just grind his way back into it again. And he's right now reattaching himself. It felt like the pace slowed a little bit, 4:44 for the last mile. You could see the pack bunch up. One of the things that's interesting to me, though, as I look at this, and Tony, you were right. I was wrong about the wind. There is some strong wind out of the south. But when I look at the athletes, almost all of them are sweating, except Kipchoge. He's not sweating. He looks comfortable. Now, you don't know whether it's because he just doesn't sweat, or is he within himself to the point where he's not at the same stress level as the rest of them. But
I think he probably does sweat.
Yeah,
I would think he does. But today he's, well, a guy like Brian Deemer, former bronze medalist in the Olympics, he didn't sweat. So on a warm day, he was in trouble. But some people have a different thermostat than others. But he looks.
But it's a nice, you know, Greg, I say it's a nice cool day, so it probably is that ladder you were talking about. He's probably pretty comfortable.
I think he is. When the pace slows, he seems to be the one that gets up close to the front and sort of reminds them that, hey, listen, we want to keep this thing honest. Let's keep going. Bekele, at least for the last 7 miles or so, has been on the backside of the pack, out of trouble, not looking up. I also wonder a little bit if he might have a bit of a cold, because I've noticed every now and then he's cleaning his nose. He's doing different things where typically that's what you would see if someone's got a little bit of a problem. But they're all hanging in. They're all comfortable. What we're seeing is Kerry Pinkowski's work at bringing in 7 or 8 guys that are all 2.4, 2.5. They can all run this pace. It's going to be who runs faster today than they did in the past.
You know, what's interesting is, speaking of having a little cold, one of the signs that we who follow the sport closely have is when you're, of course, an elite athlete is constantly having their immune system suppressed as the training, that hard training compromises your system. So you're always on one step away from the sickbed when you're fittest athlete of your career. But at the same time, Kenenisa has his wife and his 3 young children with him. And having your kids around is sometimes can be very, I mean, for an athlete, it's easy to get sick.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when I was, the first 2 years of my kids being born, I was sick all the time, nonstop. And so, you know, every athlete thinks that, though. When they're out there, you know, the couple days leading up to it, the guy who sneezes next to you, the guy who coughs next to you in the airport, you're looking at him, giving him the weird look. You don't touch doorknobs, nothing, because this has all been so much, you know, has gone into this preparation that you don't want any one little thing like that to get you off.
Everyone's a germaphobe. I say everyone is Howard Hughes, just without the money.
We'll talk about Bekele's, you know, okay, we'll have to, before I get off on this thought, we're going to go over to the women's lead vehicle. And Joni Scott, what's going on there? Joan?
Well, we were 5 abreast, and now we are a tight pack of 4. Florence Kipchoge has the slight edge over Berhane Dababa and Mari Dababa, and Rita is a half stride, if that, off the others. You know, this is going to be a race to the finish, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who's going to make the daring move, and I'm guessing that'll come around 20 miles.
We're going to take a break here, Joni, for a second, because here comes the men's wheelchair sprint finish. There's a pack of about 15 people here. Really going to be hard to tell who wins this thing until the very end.
It's been a break. We'll just have to see as they come across, because it can't tell the numbers.
From Josh Cassidy, Kurt Fernley, Joshua George, Hein Fry.
We had 15 chairs.
Unbelievable at one point, yeah.
15 chairs in a pack come screaming home. Classic race here in Chicago. The best in the world just ripping it. And no one could get away from anybody else, and it all came down to that final sprint and who could set it up best. It's very much Tour de France-like.
Well, Ernst van Dijk was the defending champion. We'll find out the finish of that race as we have more of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon after a break. Stay here, Dave.
I'm Kai Martin in Lakeview along North Broadway, one of the most colorful aid stations in the race. We are around mile 8 here for the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. You know, the best part of the race sometimes is the community of spectators. Dana and Tracy, I met them here along the route. They're cheering on so many of their friends. Who are you here for, Dana?
We're supporting a lot of our fellow swimmers from the Chicago Smelts, Lauren Moore, Vicki Both, and Kristen Ellison, and then we're also supporting Tim Martinez and Aaron Schwartz and some other.
And I've got my friend Deanna and Joe running together, my friend January Corn, and my friend Rebecca Burry.
Is it inspiring just to see all the other runners? Maybe they're not your friend or you don't know them, but I noticed you were cheering them on as well.
Yes, after having done one, I wanted to give back, and it's like the best feeling ever. It's hard to do it. People do it for different reasons, but it's wonderful. This is one of the most supportive events for athletic competition that I've ever seen, so it's wonderful.
What do you think about Lakeview and being here at this spot as a spectator, Tracy? Is it a fun place to watch the race?
It's the best spot in the world.
This is where our swim team is.
Music, it's awesome.
And what's been some of the fun outfits that you've noticed out here along the course?
Just now, a man in like a fuzzy, really thick duck costume, which I don't think I could run in. That's ridiculous.
Well, things are definitely getting exciting here. The people that you see behind us, they're running about a 3:45 pace, so these folks run under a 4-hour marathon. So we've got some great runners behind us, great spectators. We're having a great time here in Lakeview. Now back to our coverage of the race. Thank you, guys.
That was awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Welcome back to the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. And right before we left for a commercial break, we saw one of the most amazing finishes to the men's wheelchair race. There were about 15 people within a 100-yard radius of one another, and we're still trying to figure out exactly who won the race right now. Bibs are very small, so it's very tough and difficult to see from. Now that's Joshua George.
Number 203. Now, he looks like, with the way he's raising his fist, congratulations, thank you. He's been a three-time past champion. I mean, he was wearing all black, and the all-black guy won it. And, again, Joshua George from University of Illinois has been a three-time champion in the past.
2003, 4, and 6.
So Josh George comes through with a major victory, $12,000 first prize check. So home state man wins Chicago for the 4th time, tying Kurt Fearnley, who from Australia, who's been a 4-time champion, beating all the best in the world.
And a great sprint and finish on his part. You know, whenever you have a group of guys like that who've been drafting off each other, it all comes down to technique over that last little bit. And I've got to believe that Josh George, being familiar with this course, being from Illinois, making that turn had a little bit of an advantage.
It really is more like cycle racing in that sense, with the speed and the mass, etc. And it's where you place yourself for the slingshot into the lead. It's when you position yourself, then make the move that makes the win, because they've all got about similar top-end speed. It's the guy speed. It's
and you saw the piece that we aired earlier in our telecast about the great program they have down at the University of Illinois, and their head coach Adam Bleakney, who himself was second 3 times and first in 2002. The amazing program that they put together, and they do not look at themselves as being disabled whatsoever. They are just great athletes. And let's go down to Steppenholt at the finish line with our men's wheelchair winner, Joshua George.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much. Joshua George, the Fighting Illini, coming across the line there. It seemed like there were 15 racers there with you. Take me back to that last mile. What was it like?
Oh, this is the biggest pack that we've ever had in Chicago from start to finish. So it was a mess. I didn't know what was going to go on. And the last mile there, I went up to the front, and I figured you got to be one of the first people through onto that bridge to make that climb, and it worked out okay.
I can say the look on your face as you crossed the line, it was like, yes, we did this. This is great.
Yeah, it's sort of your heart is like jumping out of your mouth for that finish, because you don't want to look back to see where anyone is. You just put your head down and keep going and hope that no one passes you.
Just keep looking forward.
Exactly.
I think one of the incredible things is the University of Illinois program when it comes to wheelchair racing. You're still pretty active with the program, and you got the U of I hat here.
Yeah. University of Illinois has the best wheelchair racing program in the country, one of the best in the world. My coach is one of the best coaches in the world, and it's an amazing support system, an amazing program to train with. I think we had a few more athletes from U of I in that lead pack, and it's an incredible place to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of blue and orange out there on the race.
Absolutely.
Real quick, is this kind of like a hometown race for you? And talk about the course, the fans, what the conditions were like today. What was it like for you?
Well, this is a hometown course. It's the very first marathon that I ever did back in 2002, and it's one that I will do every year for the rest of my career. I love Chicago. I love the support that this race gets. It's one of the highlights of the year every single year.
Joshua, congratulations. Thanks so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Michael, send it back to you in the booth.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Joshua George, now a 4-time champion.
Just interestingly enough, when they were lining up at the beginning of the day, the guy with the pole position in row 1 was Josh George. Right. It doesn't often work that way in wheelchair racing or with foot racing, but today he took the pole position and brought it home.
One guy who's been chomping at the bit to get on a telecast is Andy Avalos. Part of the problem is that he's in the Pilsen neighborhood, and that's what, mile marker 20, 21. Andy?
Good morning, Mike. Yeah, actually, I believe we're right around mile marker 19, and some of the elite runners have gone by already. Of course, the wheelchair participants this morning, and what a great finish. How exciting. The crowds here actually thrilled when they go by. We just had a crew go by in the last couple of minutes, and so we still have some runners coming. I understand the elite runners are not far behind, so we're certainly waiting for them. As you mentioned, we are in Pilsen. We're about 3 miles southwest of downtown, and this is an exciting place to be. I was in the same position last year, and I can tell you the enthusiasm grows with each passing wave of runners, and so the level will go up considerably here in the next couple of minutes. We can see that there's another wheelchair runner approaching now, so we'll swing around and give you a shot of that in just a moment. But again, all of the volunteers that are here lined up, handing out Gatorade to the runners. As you can see, here comes one of our wheelchair racers now, and then closing in behind them some of the other lead vehicles as the elite runners get ever closer to us. So the morning has actually been increasing in excitement and enthusiasm. So really, this is a fabulous place to be. The Pilsen neighborhood comes out to support the race every year. And again, there are thousands lining the street to take in the race. It's a magnificent morning. Couldn't ask for a better start. So really, it's a terrific race. It's underway. We're going to be here all morning long. So stay with us as our coverage continues because, man, it is getting really excited down here.
All right, thank you very much, Andy. As we take a look at the women, they've gone through mile 16. Their split time 5:27. And once they get out of the shade, we'll be able to identify.
Well,
you can see Rita Jiptu right in the middle. Yeah.
Rita Jiptu's on the right-hand side of the screen. Then the two DeBabas and Florence Kipchoge all in a row. So those 4 women are running right along and well within themselves, Ed, at this pace.
Jeptu looks very comfortable there. She's looking around to her right, sees the other 3 runners there, but she looks very comfortable, and she's been right there at the front the entire time, taking her fluids at the fluid station, and I think is running within herself. And this is exciting because we have 4 women together this late in the race, and I think as the synergy of that pack continues, we're going to see a fast finish.
Well, what we've got, of course, is the Rita Jeptu this April and red sub 220 in Chicago last year on a similar kind of weather day. In Boston on a nice day, she ran under 219, and now they're running 224. So it's like a hard tempo run at some point. So they're going to just rip this last 10K, it would seem. This is a classic long run heading toward a very short, intense race.
And I got to believe that Florence Kipchoge, coming off that world record half marathon, has just got to be full of confidence. If she's getting through this first part comfortably, then I think she'll feel like she can close that much faster.
And if Rita can somehow break sub 220, she would join Catherine Nareba and Paula Radcliffe as the only women racers to have 3 sub 220 marathons under their belt, as we bring in Joan Benoit Samuelson. She's on the women's lead vehicle and right there with the women. Joan?
Not to take anything away from the top 4 women at this point, but I have to call out Amy Hastings. She has now passed Gilletta Burka. She is closing the distance on the lead pack. We talked about pacers doing their job earlier in the broadcast. Well, I'll tell you, Joe Moore is doing his job with Amy. This could be very interesting.
But Joni, this is more right. This pace was what Amy was hoping to run all along, so this is right where she wanted to be. We expected the other women to be well up the road.
Exactly. So anything could happen here. I mean, I have never seen Amy run like this. She is running a strong and steady race. She seems unfazed by the changes and fluctuations in the race at hand. And I'm not counting her out yet, especially if somebody drops the hammer and people start to fall off. She could potentially have a top 3 finish here, which would be unbelievable.
Well, Amy, Joni, from your standpoint, Greg was saying that of the men's pack, Eliud Kipchoge looked using the least effort of those top 4 women right in front of you. Which one seems to look the best, if you can make that discernment?
I would say Mari Dababa. Rita has been there all along, and maybe she's doing this intentionally. She has been 1/2 of a stride behind the other 3 women throughout the last several miles.
All right, here come the women's wheelchair racers.
Our women are going to finish on the left-hand side of the road.
Coming down Roosevelt Drive and then on Columbus Drive.
And last we heard, it was Tatiana McFadden and Amanda McGrory, teammates from Illinois.
Champion, yeah.
So both wearing the same colors.
Yeah. McFadden.
Tatiana McFadden, now we've heard, because there's only 1, not 2, and the odds are to be Tatiana heading toward another Grand Slam.
Previous years it's been very, very, very close. She won the Grand Slam last year, and Tatiana McFadden, we believe, has done it again. Tata McFadden.
Yep, blue singlet, purple chair, red, white, and blue helmet. That's her.
That's her.
That's 4 in a row for her.
Number 5, right?
To 5 overall.
5 overall, 4 in a row. And we expect that out of her.
And hopefully we can get the time at some point.
She won all 4 marathon majors a year ago.
1:44.50, so it's 2 minutes off her course record from last year, but still a big-time victory for Tatiana McFadden. They call her the Beast, with good reason. Fabulous athlete.
Well, you know,
Did you have a good time watching? Yeah.
There's some wheelies coming in.
You know, and this is what an amazing athlete she is. You know, wheelchair was probably getting a little boring after a while, so she decides to take up cross-country skiing, and she wins a silver medal 3 weeks after she learns how to cross-country ski in Sochi, Russia.
Right, exactly. She's very special. 6-time world champion last year. She's just having these last couple of years have rewritten all the record books on women's disabled athletics, and she's so well loved by all her competitors as well.
I looked back and I was like, oh my God.
All right, so congratulations once again to the amazing Tatiana McFadden, this year's women's wheelchair winner here at the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, as we go to our Andy Avalos. Andy, who's got a special guest. Andy?
Mike, I certainly do. Some of the best runners are passing us by. Even as we speak, the elite group has already gone by. And speaking of elite, you know, runners, this is what makes a difference in their lives. And there are other people who make a difference in our lives, and this is one of them. Joining us now is Mike Goranson, and he's a retired military Marine. And you were actually injured and had a wound. You were shot when you were serving in Iraq and received the Purple Heart. So first of all, let me thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
We certainly do appreciate that, and you're making a difference. As we at NBC5 love to say, we like to make a difference and appreciate your being here. But tell us about your role now. Why are you here, and what are you doing?
I'm the veteran Team Red, White, and Blue, and our mission is to reintegrate veterans with the community through physical activities. And we have about 25 members here that are looking to accomplish a lifetime goal here.
Okay, so you're helping to motivate them as well. My understanding is from talking to you that you're going to compete yourself in a half marathon very soon.
Yes, I'm going to be at the Monster Dash in a couple of weeks, but that's my personal goal, and then hopefully next year I could complete in the Chicago Marathon.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back here next year as a runner and a participant. Certainly, again, thank you for your service. It's much appreciated, and for all the work that your organization and agency is doing now on the behalf of veterans and other people to get together and run. So it's a fabulous morning here. The racers are going by. We're in Pilsen. The race will continue, and so so will our coverage. So stay with us as the 37th annual 2014 Chicago Bank of America Marathon continues.
Everybody, I'm Alicia Roman. Thank you so much for joining us on Cozy TV and NBCChicago.com. Now, here I am at Columbus Drive, and not a whole lot happening while the runners have ran past us a while ago. I want to let you know, though, here on Columbus Drive, we're within the first mile. So the start line is about a half a mile to myself, and then just to my north they turn on Grand, and that's where they hit the 1 mile marker. So it's been kind of quiet here because everybody has picked up and ran throughout the rest of the course to go find their family and friends that are running this race. Let's talk about the weather. We have lots of sunshine outside right now, and it stays sunny and dry throughout the rest of the morning. That's the good news. We have temperatures in the 40s. So here's a look right now at the course map. Going down on Addison, that's right around mile 8 to Hubbard Street. We're in the 40s. And then as they go around, twisting and turning from Damon toward Adams Street, this should be about 11:45, 12 o'clock. Temperature will be in the low 50s. From Taylor Street to 18th Street, about 54 degrees the way toward Archer Avenue. And as they come back up Michigan to Roosevelt to finish the race, the temperature will be right around 54 degrees at the 2 o'clock hour. Now, during that whole time, we stayed nice and dry. We're not expecting any rain to move in till at least after 4 o'clock. So later on this afternoon, we have sunny skies now, but you may see a few more clouds moving in, but staying rain-free, and the winds will continue out of the southeast. Right now, they're at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and they gust up to about 15. So I think 15 will max it out as we head into the afternoon with our wind gusts out of the south and east. So definitely coming from Addison down that 8-mile stretch to even about mile 23, they will be encountering some wind running right into it at times as that wind goes from southwest to about 5 to 15 miles per hour. That's a look at weather for you. We'll check back in here with you in just a few moments.
Welcome back to the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, and quickly let's go down to the finish area. Zoraida Zambolin with our women's wheelchair winner for yet another year, Tatiana McFadden.
That's right, Tatiana McFadden, the winner. This is the 5th year. Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much. I am feeling on top of the world right now. I'm more than halfway again for another Grand Slam. This is my 2nd consecutive marathon win. I don't know what I'm feeling right now. I'm exhausted. I'm really, really excited. That race made me really, really nervous. I took off pretty early on, around mile 4, and so that was pretty gutsy of me just to go ahead and take the lead and to continue the pace that I wanted to push, which was around 16.5. And I got pretty tired halfway, and the women started to close up, and then they were only 10 seconds behind, and I was almost in a panic mode. But then I just had to keep relaxed and regroup myself and really pick up the pace again to open up the gap. So I opened up the gap again where it created 40 seconds. But boy, it made me really nervous because I was sitting at mile 15 and they were consecutive 10 seconds away. So if one little move mistake or pop tire, or if I slow down just even a little bit to rest or get water, I would have definitely lost that gap.
Well, but it looked to us from our vantage point as we were watching that you were the only one in the lead, and I called you a freak of nature, and you actually said thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a compliment. I am definitely crazy for running about 4 marathons a year, but I absolutely love it, and the crowds for Chicago is absolutely amazing. And I ran Chicago. I just graduated from the University of Illinois, and so it's just pretty amazing just to run for the University of Illinois and to run for the training center as well.
Well, 3 of the top 4 finishers from the University of Illinois.
I know, it's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. It's a really, really strong field, and it's only getting faster. So it's always going to be such a great race, always a very close race, and I'm really proud of my teammates as well.
Well, Tatiana McFadden, we're very proud of you. Congratulations. Great job. I'm going to let you go rest. Thank you so much. All right, Mike, back to you.
All right, Zoraida, let's go to the men's race. It's quickly turned into a 3-man race. Let's go to Greg Meyer on the men's lead vehicle. Greg.
Between 19 and 21 miles, it sort of blew up. Kitwara really did a lot of the work. He went to the front after the pace setters dropped and sort of upped the ante just a bit. But the funny part is the time doesn't indicate that it's a huge surge. But Bekele was one of the first guys to drop off. Koech was next. Now it's down to 3. Sammy Kitwara, Kipchoge, and Chumba. Chumba, interestingly, beat Kitwara in Tokyo earlier this year in winning that race. So they know each other well. Hopefully Kitwara thinks he can turn the tables on him over these last few miles. But again, these 3 look good, but I just noticed Chumba turning around and looking for where that next runner is. Never a good sign. Never a good sign.
Right. Kitwara has never won a marathon. Is now Chumba goes back to the front. Kipchoge has won 2 of his 3 career marathons. So there's a little bit of gamesmanship now as Chumba went to the front and challenged. And that's what's going to happen after that relatively moderate early pace. They've got, I know they've got a lot of play left in their legs, Greg, where they can afford to really surge now.
Well, and Eliud Kipchoge of the 3 has the most experience. It looks to me like he's just kind of biding his time behind him, or do you see a break taking place?
What I look at when I see this is I think of the mentality of a track athlete. Kipchoge, Bekele coming off the track, they're used to sitting on someone's shoulder. Separation is never a good thing for a track athlete. When I see even a gap open up of 2 or 3 meters, I don't see that as a good sign for him. I think he should be right on their shoulders. I think they're trying hard to create some of that separation right now. And what we're going to see over the next 2 miles is, can they break Kipchoge before it becomes the last mile? Because he has the advantage there.
All right, thank you, Greg. Quickly, let's go to Chinatown where our Byron Miranda is standing by. Byron?
Mikey, I got to tell you, man, those runners went by me, and Paul, my photographer, said, Byron, don't run after them, because I was ready to run with him. I was so psyched about this. Paul, let's go over and talk to some folks here in Chinatown. We actually have a family that's here from Boston. You guys were at the Boston Marathon last year, right?
Yes, sir.
And why were you there?
I was there to support my brother. He was running it.
And is he running it? Tell me why you're here today.
We're here to support him again. He's running the Chicago. He's run the Boston 3 times. I figured to try a new one, and this is a great city. It's a nice track.
Is he a professional athlete, or is he just a nice guy that likes to run?
He's a professional athlete. He's a tennis pro.
He's a tennis pro?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about Boston. You were there, and where exactly were you when it happened?
I was at Cleveland Circle, about 5 miles from the finish. And it was kind of chaotic at first, but everybody pulled it together. The first responders, the police, the firemen. They handled it really well.
Perfect. Well, we're going to watch Joe, right? Is
Joe.
Okay, guys. We'll be back here in Chinatown, but boy, everybody's psyched up and watching the runners.
Yeah, Chicago!
Back to you guys, Mikey.
All right, thanks, Byron.
Bank of America has provided banking services for the U.S. military for over 90 years, and we proudly employ more than 7,000 veterans, Guard, and reservists. To express your thanks and show your appreciation, visit bankofamerica.com/troopthanks.
And welcome back to our coverage of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. And what a race it has been. Ideal racing conditions, and man, the crowds turned out. We're in Pilsen, about 3 miles southwest of downtown Chicago. And we have special people here participating in the race, cheering on the racers, and some other people who also just happened to show up this morning. First of all, my colleague and friend at our sister station, Telemundo, this is Maricela Vasquez. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning, Andy. I'm so happy to be here. This is the first time I get to cover the marathon, and this is a perfect place. 19 mile. You can feel that atmosphere, like so festive, the music, everybody's so happy.
So we're having a great time this morning. And speaking of special people, we always talk about making a difference in people's lives. We're doing our thing here at NBC because we like to make a difference in our community. But a special gentleman joining us this morning, this is Tommy Doyle, and he's one of our veterans. Tommy, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for being here. I'm going to ask you some questions about your service. First of all, what branch of the military were you in?
I was in active Army.
Okay. And so you're about to step out, but when are you getting out? Step out, but when?
Back to duty today.
We saw that you're here with your 2 kids. What made you decide to come here to see the marathon?
Actually, I think it's for a good cause. It's a really good thing for kids to see what people are doing for everyone else who are needing help.
So how do you feel the atmosphere? You can hear like that Latin music, the mariachi, I think it's the next corner, all this festive, all the people full of energy cheering all those runners.
Oh yeah, it's always a good thing to see a lot of people cheering on the runners. These guys have to run 26 miles, so I mean, it's a long way for everyone to do this.
Well, let me just say, first of all, thank you for your service. It's absolutely terrific that our veterans are here supporting the runners, and your boys are with you today. You said you're up in the Fort Sheridan area. I told them if you had to walk all the way home or run all the way home, you'd get an idea of just how far these guys have to go. So first of all, thank you for your service to the country and for being here to support the runners. We think it's terrific. And our runners are terrific, and so too is our coverage of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon as it continues. So stay with us. We'll be here all morning long as we watch the runners cross the finish line.
Good morning, everybody. Still here on Columbus Drive, just outside the NBC 5 Tower, within the first mile stretch. You can see behind me, not too much is happening, so let's talk about the weather. This is your Columbia Sportswear forecast. Temperature, 46 degrees. The winds are continuing out of the southeast at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, but we're even seeing wind gusts here up to about 15 miles per hour. So keep that in mind. Some of those runners are now running into that wind out of the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Good news, no rain. Sunny skies outside right now. The skies stay sunny for most of the race and into the early afternoon. Then we'll see more clouds moving in. Rain chances stay way later into the afternoon, so we stay dry for the rest of the race. And temperatures by 12 o'clock will be right around 50 degrees. We'll send it back to you, Mike.
The men now have gone 1:49.11 through 23 miles, and you're looking at the threesome going at it. Eliud Kipchoge, Sammy Kitwara,
Dixon Chumba.
Dixon Chumba from Kenya.
And again, it was Dixon Chumba who won the Tokyo Marathon earlier this year, which is the newcomer in the World Marathon Major Series. And earlier this year, it was Kipchoge winning the very fast Rotterdam Marathon in 2:05 flat. But it's a three-man race as they take this turn.
Yeah. And Chumba beat Kitwara there in Tokyo, but I've got to love Eliud Kipchoge's positioning right now. He was a silver medalist at the Olympics at 5,000 meters, so we know he has the leg speed, and I think he's going to be content just to be right up there and wait for that final turn and finish.
And Dathan, we were talking about in the break that just the small corruptions in form that you see, that people, if you look at it watch sports for a long period of time, you see those really nuanced things, and it's like Kipchoge is just planing straight forward, shoulders straight across, head still straight up and high.
He looks like nothing's changed from the beginning of the race. He's still, everything is completely even. Whereas Kitwara, you're starting to see, yeah, his head's tilting, his arms are coming down. Chumba just keeps coming off the back just a little bit.
So he's on that yo-yo.
Yeah, and now they've just turned. You know, they're going to be coming back with the wind at their back again. And Kipchoge just looks comfortable still. And at 23 plus miles, I mean, you got to bet on a guy like that. But you never know who can dig deep, and that fuel runs out fast too at the end.
And also, but it starts, you can have that good patch, bad patch, where you feel great in 1 minute, next thing you know, you feel horrible, and you can't get too down, you can't get too up.
No, and absolutely. And these guys at this level, you know, they, depending on their training, they might sometimes be more prepared for a bigger move like that, and they can tolerate the blood lactate levels that build up, whereas one guy might not have had that in the training, and it can change very quickly.
One of the things we wanted to mention is the fact that Kipchoge, the guy on the left in the yellow outfit, trains with Emmanuel Mutai, who just ran 2:03.10 for second place at Berlin several weeks ago. He trains with the Olympic champion, and so his training group is among the strongest in the world. So every day he's training with guys that are better than this guy.
Yeah, he knows exactly what those guys were doing in the training. If he's been keeping up with them, he knows that he's in that same territory. And right now, they just ran the world record. He knows that he's got it in the tank as well. So, you know, the other guys, you know, if they're in a different group, they might not be in that same situation.
He's side by side with Sammy right now. What kind of gamesmanship is going on? Do they know each other exists right now?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, you'll see one point, like just a little bit ago, we saw Kipchoge move off to the side. You know, they don't want to be necessarily right next to each other. You can hear the other guy breathing sometimes, too. And so it's always bad when someone's behind you, too. You don't know what they're doing. And so Chumba's still sitting right back there.
Yeah, Chumba's in fine position.
Greg, you know, we were talking about Sammy Kidwara trains in the same town as Eliud Kipchoge, but not in the same camp. But they see each other out on the road every day. When you were training in the Greater Boston track club days, you know, there were other track clubs in the area. What's it mean like, because you trained with Bill Rogers, who at the time was the best distance runner in the world. What's it mean when somebody like Kipchoge is training with the Olympic champion and the second fastest marathoner in history?
You hear all of the workouts. You know what's going on in a community like that. And now, even in the U.S. with the internet, you know how people are training across the country. They're well aware of one another, I think. What I found interesting was once Bekele broke, I swear Kipchoge at times was smiling out here. He knows, given the confidence level that you talked about in training with the best in the world, that he can run with these guys. It's right now Kidwara and Chumba's job to try to get away, and I don't see them doing that right now.
They seem to holding on to they seem to be just tolerating the pace that's being set by Kipchoge.
They really do. They're keying off him. But I give Kidwara a lot of credit in this race. He's done a lot of the work, and although his form is not as smooth as the two that he's running with, he's looked like that since the start. This is just his form. He's more of a gangly guy out there. He's not compact like Chumba and Kipchoge. So this is just who he is. But it'll be interesting to see what happens over this next really mile and a quarter. Less than that now. I swear,
Sammy Kidwara said his target for this race was 2:04.28. We'll find out about that as our coverage of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon continues after a break. Stay with us. And for those of you tuning in for Meet the Press, you can catch Chuck Todd right after our marathon coverage right here on NBC5. Back in a moment.
There are many aspects of this race, the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, that we're so proud of. We're proud of the economic impact. We're proud of it being a world-class event. We're proud of it being one of the world marathon majors. I will tell you, for me personally and for our company, one of the areas that we're most proud of is a charitable impact. We have consciously and diligently worked every year to encourage more and more runners to run for a charity of their choice. And I think it's making a tremendous difference. If we look at last year's race, 10,000 runners ran for a charity. 140 different charities were represented by those runners, and they raised over $15 million to the benefit of those organizations. Many of them are local here in Chicago, and others traverse the world. That was 140 charities that benefited from participation in this race. The number of charities this year is 195. So we're hopeful that we'll raise even more money. We know that we'll have more runners running for charity this year than ever before. Our goal is 12,000. So the way we think about that is if 10,000 runners can raise $15 million, what happens when we get that number to 20,000? When we get that number to 30,000 runners running for the charity of their choice? This can make a difference in people's lives all year round, right here at home and literally across the world. We're also seeing a broadening of the type of charities that we're supporting. This year, on a global basis, we're working in partnership with RED. RED is a charity that Bank of America has an affiliation with that is seeking to eliminate the transmission of HIV from mother to child. RED will have its own marker at mile 12, as well as a booth at the expo. From that to the local organizations, we think this race can make a difference for humanity across the world and in every neighborhood here in Chicago.
Well, it's turned into a one-man race here at the Chicago Marathon, the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. This man has made his move. Eliud Kipchoge from Ethiopia. Kenya, excuse me.
And he just blew him away at 1 hour and 56 minutes into the race, and it looked like he just got close enough to smell the barn, and he just put the boot in, and it just destroyed them within about 10 strides.
It's in his last mile now, and I think we just saw a knockout punch is what we saw there. They had a little rise they were going up over, and he put the pedal to the metal and just pulled away.
They just hit that last bottle station there as well, and he grabbed that thing. He's still holding on to it, trying to get everything he can out of it, but that was a decisive move.
Greg, how's he looks? We were saying he looked fabulous before he made the move. Then he really struck hard.
Tony, I swear to God, he was smiling right before he took off. He knows. I think for the last since this is his race. Now he's dropped that water bottle. Look at his hands. His hands have now come up into that track mode. He's just smooth. It's just beautiful to watch. Just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, we talked to him earlier, and he said he made the transition from being a track runner to a longer distance runner very easily. He actually enjoyed the training. Kenenisa Bekele, who's been his nemesis and rival throughout the years, beating him 12 out of the 15 times they've raced on the track, said he thought marathon training at first was boring. He didn't like the longer pace, the slower pace at the longer distance, and he had to be talked into it by his manager. Eliud Kipchoge, and this is what he hoped would happen. His experience at the distance and his love for the distance is the difference, at least today.
Yeah, and you got to really love what you're doing. It's a full-time job, and so you could see it, though. He still loves to race. He was the world champion at 5,000 meters 11 years ago, and he still looks as good now as he did back then.
Okay, 1:57.51 for 40K. His PR 2:04.05, which he set in Berlin last year.
1:57.15 was last year, split at 40K. So he's still, 35 seconds off, and he's not going to make that up in the last mile, but it's going to be a very fast.
Yeah, he's going to run low 2:04, and is just moving so very well right now. And Kitwara had run this 3 times in the past, so he had that experience, and that would have been in his benefit. But the fact is, Kipchoge is so much more powerful and is just powering away with every stride and looks very comfortable. I agree with Greg.
Again.
He is smiling. He's smiling, and he knows he has this thing in the bag.
He's a university graduate, has a degree in human resources. His coach is Patrick Sang, a former silver medalist in the steeplechase, the 3,000-meter steeplechase event on the track. A very well-regarded coach in Kenya. And it looks like Kipchoge is headed toward that as well. A very clever man, considered a very smart trainer, knows how to get his body into peak form. And he's going to take that experience and all these victories throughout his career. And he was hoping that he'll become a coach later in his career when his running days are over.
And you could see that confidence from Kipchoge even in the press conference 2 days ago. He was sitting back, he was cool, calm, and he was even playing mind games, it looked like, with Bekele a little bit in terms of saying that he had more experience over Bekele, even though Bekele had 17 world championships to his credit, that Kipchoge, because of his experience, was going to take this one home.
Right, then the race is still on the women's side of the equation as Kipchoge is well on his way to victory. And the Pacers, the thing is about now, because you have men pacers, Kenyan men pacing the women, they can go the entire distance, which gives them quite an advantage. But just like the men were slightly slower than they anticipated, but not much, the women were significantly slower than they had hoped to go, which means the racing should all lie ahead for them as well.
And so much for that Ali Frazier kind of thing that was going on beforehand. The storyline was Bekele versus Kipchoge, road versus track, and let's do it on the road, and he's done that today. Kenenisa fell off the pace a long time ago.
Should we show it?
Looks like there's a battle going on between Kitwara and Chumba now.
Yeah,
and that's Kitwara in front with Chumba just behind him.
And Kitwara he ran well the last few years, but he did fade in the last mile or two, and so Chumba's definitely he's sensing that.
And again, he beat him in Tokyo in January.
Right.
And it looks like Bekele, I think, behind them back a ways there. So he's still not. I mean, that distance is deceptive on TV sometimes, but he's still, he's still in there. And really, the way Kitwara looks, it's not unreasonable to think that he couldn't come up as well and get on the podium.
Well, Kitwara looks like he's suffering a little bit more from my perspective, as Kipchoge in front looks like He's just beautifully motoring. It's one of those days when you're all firing on all cylinders. You literally feel, not figuratively, literally, I could do this forever.
Right. He's turning the corner here, and he's coming up to close to, this is about 500 meters to go. This is really the only hill, but it seems...
Up Roosevelt Road.
Oh, and it feels big, though. You know, when
yeah, it does.
Well, there's no hill ever on the course. The one thing feels like the mountain.
And he looks like a 5,000-meter runner going right here. He's got the nice arm carriage, good leg turnover, and a high back kick, and he is feeling good.
Right, just the opposite of corruption of form. This is the elegance of form. It's cleaned up the faster he's gone.
He's just going to miss his PR, but this is still a very strong run for him, and he's been so consistent. This is every single one he's ran well now, where usually someone falls off.
This is also his first World Marathon Major title, because his victories have come in Frankfurt and in Rotterdam, which are excellent marathons, but they're not members of the World Marathon Majors.
Here's the final turn. He sees the finish line at this point in time, and he is moving well. That's Eliud Kipchoge. He was one of our pre-race favorites, and that's Eliud Kipchoge. He was one of our pre-race favorites, and he has delivered today.
Well, he 45, but this is going to rank among the top 10, certainly, of finishes here in Chicago. An amazing race run today by Eliud Kipchoge of Kenya.
.204.12 unofficially, the winning time.
Just 7 seconds off his personal best, but what a day he had.
Looks like Sammy Kitwara is holding on for second place.
It's a big PR for him as well.
And Dixon Chumba will take third. 1, 2, 3 for the Kenyans.
Well, 1 year and
Chumba with the big PR as well, 204.33 and change.
1, 2, 3 Kenya last year, and 1, 2, 3 again. Eliud Kipchoge, Sammy Kitwara, Dixon Chumba.
And it looks like Chumba beat his personal best.
Silver medal winner in Beijing in 5,000 meters in Olympic. 204.11 is the official time.
And, you know, I think that early, slow pace just set things up really well for Kipchoge. He had lots of racing left in his legs. Still ran a very fast time, a little bit off his own personal best, but only by 6 seconds.
If you're that strong, and as he looked, and in that kind of shape, why wasn't he getting any information with regards to, like, his personal best or course record?
I think at that point he knew that, you know, that didn't really matter. Okay. And the victory was the most important thing.
Yeah. And I guess sometimes we get too caught up in that kind of crap, right?
Well, I think so. I think competition, again, is what is more compelling. As I said before, the best race we ever saw in the history of Chicago was that 2010 Sammy Wanjiru Segekebede battle for the World Marathon Majors $500,000 title, and they had the slowest time in the last 5 years, but it didn't make any difference. Competition is really what stirs the soul.
Yeah, and we've become a little jaded because 204.11, I think,
come on.
It's just such an amazing time. Such an amazing time, and we had 3 guys that were 204.33 or faster today, so
and
just
if it
incredible.
wasn't for last year's race, that was still the next fastest race that's our
third fastest.
And no matter what the sport, you love athletes who make it look effortless. And at the end, the last mile or so, certainly Eliud Kipchoge made it look effortless.
Yeah, I mean, we had Kometo and Mutai go 2:3:45 and 2:3:52 last year. Eliud Kipchoge goes 2:04.11 in Chicago 2014 with energy to spare. And he'll be dancing tonight, and and his legs won't be sore.
You don't know that.
All right, then the women come home.
All right, Eliud Kipchoge, your men's winner here at the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. We'll bring in the women. We'll bring the women home next as our coverage here on NBC5 continues on an amazing day.
And I'm in Chinatown, and I'm actually with Annette here. Annette, why are we here today?
We are
are here to welcome all the runners from over the world to Chinatown. And Chinatown is a 21.6 marker, so that means they are going to the finishing line soon.
And why is it important to have the marathon run through the community?
Well, I think Chinatown is important for people to see our people, how warm our people are, to welcome everyone here.
You happy with the turnout?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. We're going to walk over here. Come on, Paul. What do we got over here? We've got the lion, right? Paul is shaking his head. Say hi. Hello. It's a talking lion, right? Say hi again. Hello. Okay, now we're going to take another tour. Watch that little rope there. We're coming over here to find out where are y'all from?
Wisconsin.
Why are you here?
To see the marathon.
Well, I know that. You got family, friends, or you just want to get up early?
I just want to get up early and come to enjoy the marathon.
You're a crazy woman, but God bless you. Why are you here?
Because my pace group is running.
Well, tell me about your pace group.
So I pace for the 8-minute group for CES, Chicago Endurance Sports, and unfortunately I'm injured, but I'm here cheering on my group.
And how are they doing? Do you know? Do you have an app?
Fantastic. They're sticking to their 8s, trusting their training.
All right. What are you doing here?
My from China.
You're from China?
Yeah, this is my
Why are you here?
Total today, 18 from China, Chicago.
From mainland running, huh? That's excellent. Paul, let's go down here a little bit. Watch out. Don't trip, Paul. Let's see. Why are you here?
Supporting World Vision. Some friends that are running.
And why are they running for World Vision? Are they making money?
Yeah, they're making money to help individuals that are in Africa and need of clean water.
Beautiful. I tell you, there's a lot of people out here. What a great day. And Paul's going to run into the runners, so we're going to send it on back. Here comes the runners right now.
Welcome back to the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Tony Revis, Ed Eyestone, Dathan Ritzenheim. I always get the Dathan and the Nathan and the Ritzen and the... But anyway, we've seen a great men's race won by Eliud Kipchoge of Kenya. Now we're looking for a similar race here on the part of the women, and Rita Jepto has been phenomenal so far.
Well, there's 4 women still together. Rita Jepto, our defending champion and a 3-time Boston champion. We have the 2 Dababas, not related, Mare and Berhane, and Florence Kiplagat in 4th place. That past 24th mile, a 5:34 last mile, and Rita is beginning to really put the pedal down, which is what she's known for, guys. She's known as the best closer in the business. Her last mile in Boston was a 4:45, which was faster than the leading men's last mile. So you put her in the killing zone, and she's got the weapons.
Well, and she's certainly the best, most consistent woman marathoner in the world right now, coming off of 2 wins at Boston, and as our defending champion here. So she knows the course, she knows what it takes, and she knows how close she is to the finish at this point in time, and she's just ratcheted it up. She's leaving the other women in her dust.
And let's take a look at the Xfinity world record splits right now to see just where Rita is. So smooth, so fluid, so in control.
That makes me surprised a little bit. The other women didn't decide to try to take a shot at her early. If they let her go into her bailiwick, which is the final part of the marathon, they're going to get killed. And yet they just set it up with a much, much slower pace. Joni, was this inevitable?
Well, she really made a move at 23 miles. I think she looked at the clock and she said, if I'm going to win my 4th World Majors, I've got to show that I'm really a great marathoner. And she just left them in her wake. She has opened up a considerable lead. I'd say she's got at least 50 yards now on Mare Dababa. And Florence is still jockeying with Mare for that 2nd place position. But Berhane has fallen off, and what could happen is Amy could still close on Berhane. But this is going to be Rita's race unless she trips and falls, I would think, at this point.
Yeah, she doesn't show any signs like she's all out.
Yeah, no, she is working for this, but, you know, she was so well within her comfort zone for so long. You know, we have the 3 sub-220 marathoners here, and they were in position to win this race for the longest time. Berhane is the only one outside of the 220 barrier, and she, when you talk about, you know, looking smooth, she looked great, and I was surprised she was the first one to falter in the lead pack of 4.
You know, you
But this
see her
is
in the
Rita's
press
race.
conferences, everything, and she looks like this fragile little doll. But then you watch her race, and you watch her run, and you watch the power. She's anything but.
Oh, look at that turnover. I mean, efficient speed. I mean, this is someone who didn't really run on the track, came right to the half marathon and marathon. And she's flowing home.
All right, let's go to the finish line right now. Stephen Holt is with our men's winner, Eliud Kipchoge.
Here he is, Mike. Kipchoge, Eliud Kipchoge, you just had a wonderful race. How did it feel coming across the finish line there?
Actually, I feel comfortable. I am happy to be the winner of Chicago. Although I missed my target, but to win, this is a big marathon. I am happy to be the winner after going all these streets of Chicago. I say thank you.
A win at a world major, and you were running really quickly there at the end. You said you wanted to run here in Chicago because of speed, and you said you missed your target there a second ago. What was your target? What were you trying to accomplish?
I say really I want to win Chicago. I have won. I say I want to get my BB town, but I missed it a little bit, but all in all, I can say I'm happy to be the winner. Yes.
A little close there as well with Kitwara and Shumba at the end. To the folks back home in Kenya, what would you like to say to them?
I can say to them at home, thank you for your support spiritually. Thank you for your support. Those who are watching TV and pushing me, even if they are not here, thank you. I appreciate everything. I tell the fans of Chicago they are very good. Very, very good. Thank you, the cheerers. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next year.
Eliud Kipchoge, thank you so much. Congratulations. Nice job in Chicago.
Thank you very much.
All right. There you go, the men's champion. We'll send it back to you in the booth.
Thanks, Stefan. Officially a time of 2:04.11. What a gracious winner, but we still have to bring Rita Jeptu home. We'll do that as our coverage of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon continues in a heartbeat.
All right, we are back here in Lakeview. I'm Kai Martin along North Broadway. This is really the great part of the Chicago Marathon is all of these runners. They're just everyday people that have trained to do the marathon in maybe 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours. That's the group that we're seeing right here. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a reason why they're running. Maybe it's for fitness. Maybe it's for charity. We've just seen such a wide variety of runners. And of course, we have the spectators cheering them on. We have Lily, her mom Danielle, and her dad Brian. You guys live right down the street?
Yeah, right down the street.
Yeah, right down the street.
What's been inspiring for you? What have you liked about coming out here and seeing these runners?
Yeah, it's really about the neighborhood now. They come together. Everyone really loves it on the street, and it's a lot of fun. Everyone enjoys it. She loves it. So.
And, Danielle, do you know anyone running?
A few people. I know people who have charities that they're running for, and also running for other charities like Paws, stuff like that. So.
Do you see them training in the neighborhood?
We know a few intense hardcore runners, and they are dedicated, and it's a lot of work. I don't know if I could do it.
They are perfect runners. You're so great to support them. Thank you, Lily. So it's great for the people that are here to support their neighbors and their friends. And of course, it's a rewarding day for all of these folks out here. You've got everyone of all walks of life. They're all here together. Of course, this is an aid station just after mile 8. So really, this is relatively early in the race. But, you know, at this stage of the race, people are slowing down. They're enjoying the entertainment. We've got definitely some fun characters on a stage here. We have music here in Lakeview. They're taking a lot of water, and they're getting ready for the majority of this race. So from mile 8 in Lakeview, I'm Kai Martin enjoying all the fun, and we'll send it back to our continuous coverage.
And welcome back to our coverage of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. And let's quickly check in with Alicia Roman.
And Mike, temperature outside 48 degrees. You can see my hair blowing. We have a slight breeze out there. The winds are out of the southeast at about 5 to 15 miles per hour as we take a look at your Columbia Sportswear forecast. Temperature 48 degrees. It is still sunny out, so that's good news. But some of the runners may be squinting, as they see the sun in their eyes. We do have more clouds on the move later on this afternoon, but for the most part, we are dry throughout the rest of the morning. And as we head into the early afternoon, no rain rain expected until later on this evening. But yes, we do have that light breeze out of the southeast at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. By noon, we'll see that temperature at the lower 50s. So right now we're at 48, low 50s by noon. We'll send it back to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you very much, Alicia. And Rita Jeptu, the leader in the women's race right now, is running like a slight breeze as well. Let's go down to Joni.
Well, this is Rita's race right now. She just passed mile 25, and she's on 2:24 pace, but she continues to speed up as she starts to pass men here. But I need to, you know, again, thank Amy Hastings for making this race honest. I think when she appeared on the scene, they took note and they said, oh my gosh, she has a PR of 2:27 and she's challenging us. So I give Amy more credit for setting the pace here than the actual pace setters.
Yeah, the guy in the yellow jersey is going to be able to tell his grandchildren, say, hey, I ran next to Rita Jeptu for about 2 feet.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way he's going to ride on her coattails into the finish. I'll tell you that right now. She's just dropping the yellow jackets and everybody else. But what a champion she is. I mean, she knows what's on the line here, and she's delivering.
Well, she hasn't lost a marathon major since 2012 when she was second in that sprint finish with Baeza, Sadie Baeza.
Well, I think as I
by
mentioned,
winning here, go ahead, Johnny.
I think as I mentioned earlier and Tony repeated, that 4:45 last mile in Boston, I think, told the world who she is and what she has. We just passed the 1 mile to go sign.
You know, it's one thing. The most difficult thing in our sport, especially because the training is so stern and so difficult, and you're putting your body really, you're trying to get as close to the edge without compromising yourself, and it's a very fine line. And the fact that she has won the last 2 Bostons, now the last 2 Chicagos, I mean, the fact that she's kept herself together psychologically and physically is pretty astounding.
Yeah, but she's looking
better now. And we thought
this
was going to be a really tight.
Yes. Well, with Florence's 105
yeah, we thought this was going to be an amazing
record. Go ahead.
Well, okay. We just thought this was going to be a really tight race between her and Florence Kiplagat, but Kiplagat is like at least a minute behind right now.
And remember, this sews up the World Marathon Major Series title and the $500,000 victory, on top of which.
Oh,
so
$100,000
for the victory in Chicago. There'll be time bonuses involved in how fast she goes. There's the unspoken appearance money, which is 6 figures that she gets. There's also a shoe company bonus for the victory in the World Marathon Majors. She's just going to walk out of here with $1.5 million, $1.6 million.
This is a big day for her, and you know, that's one of the things when this World Marathon Majors has kind of evolved that and has made it very exciting. In the fall, you come back and you see these races, you know, Chicago, New York, and there's a lot of money on the line for some of these guys, and they take this money back to Kenya. You know, that's a huge, and she's done it multiple years in a row where she's had big races.
$1,800 a year is the average annual wage.
Wow.
And she's bringing home $1.6 million. Are you kidding me?
But will she be revered when she goes back to Kenya? Will she be no, but as the men are?
It's growing. It's growing. The women's depth in Kenya is not as great as the men's depth in Kenya because of the society and the kind of society they have. But slowly but surely, beginning with Tegla Larupe in 1994-1995, the double New York City Marathon champion, the first African to win like that. The great Catherine Dereba, who set the world record here in 2001 in 2:18:47. Another great heroine to so many of these young women. So slowly but surely, the great depth we see in the Kenyan men is being mirrored by the Kenyan women, and this is the next generation of great heroines.
And maybe we should just stop here for about 5 seconds and just watch her run. This is so perfect, so beautiful. You can hear the crowd. They think they're watching something special.
One of the beautiful things about this is the fact is, once again, she makes it look so effortless that it's not LeBron James windmill dunking from the foul line. You know, it's not Blake You know,
no.
It's not these guys. It looks so smooth until you try doing it yourself, and then you're flailing for maybe a quarter mile to do what she does for 26 miles.
But they really are on the line. You know, it's like all out at this point. And so, like when I was coming up Michigan Avenue the last 2 years, it's like tunnel vision. You can barely put one leg in front of the other. It's everything you got, and you just can't tell that by looking at them, except for maybe Kipchoge with the smiling.
And let's watch her as she climbs this hill here.
Roosevelt Road.
This is the one hill on the course, and she continues to look so effortless. And you know, consistency is the mark of any true champion, and she's just been so consistent over the last couple of years, winning Boston twice, hitting that course record there at Boston, that she is indeed a great champion.
Joan Benoit Samuelson's your thoughts?
I wouldn't say that Rita has made this look effortless. She looks much better now than she did in the early stages. I'd like to hear her interview because I have a feeling she really wasn't feeling great at the start of this race. She's really loosened up now, but this has not been an effortless run for her. I know she'll be disappointed with the time, but that's not important today. What's on the line, as you mentioned earlier, is what's important to her, and to do it in style and with grace as she always had is what counts here. She is a role model. As Tony said, you know, the other two women who can compare to her are Tegla and Catherine, and this is the perfect triumvirate coming in right now. Just look at her go.
She ran her last mile in 5:19, and now she...
Yep.
This is her moment, and I like the fact that that one guard's kind of skewed that other runner away. Here she comes.
She also won some half marathons. She won Boston, and there she goes. Rita, congratulations.
2:24.36 unofficially at the line.
And the defending Chicago Marathon champion defends her title, and in great form.
You know, 1:12.30 first half, a 1:12.06 second half. And as Joni said, it wasn't her top end day because based on the time, and she didn't really attack the course. She had it when she needed it to win the race, really close with that blistering 5:06 mile in the 23rd mile, and that really 24th mile, and that really destroyed the competition. But even goes to show when her A game isn't with her, she's still the best there is.
She's a champion no matter what. She could win Boston in 2:18. She can win here in 2:24. It doesn't matter the kind of race it is. She's going to be up near the front.
And once again, she just wraps up the World Marathon Majors title. Her fourth in a row, Mari Dababa. Mari Dababa coming home in second place.
She was third in Boston in the race that Rita won in 2014. She turns 25 on October 20th, so she's still relatively young.
Many good years of racing ahead for her.
And there's Florence Kiplagat just flashing by in third position in just under sub 2:26.
But a major feat for her since she's pulled out of last year's race because of an injury. So this had to be a great comeback here in Chicago. She walked in, her mentality when I talked to her earlier this week was no retreat, no surrender. She didn't win the race, but she didn't surrender either, that's for sure.
Kiplagat was second at London and now third here. So nice paydays for both.
It's tough at this very, very highest level. Remember, this is a sport that is practiced all around the world. And so to be number one is pretty extraordinary.
And Amy Hastings is nearing the finish as well.
This is going to be a big PR for her.
Well, she better hurry because 2:27.03 is her PR. And she's hustling. You can see her hustling in. She's got running left in her legs, but it looks like she's 2:26.50 on the clock right now. And Barhani Dababa is coming home in fourth place. And there's Amy in
2:27.03. I think she got it.
Yeah.
Well, that was tied her a record. That's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, you can take anything you get at that point, but it's been a couple of years for her, too.
Right. 2011, Harry Fry, who's one of the great coordinators of the elite athletes. He comes in every year from England, and he really is like the father figure, so all week to these athletes.
Well, let's go back to Amy Hastings for a second, because this is a major milestone of sorts, is it not?
Well, I think the fact that she ran probably within, I think she broke her personal best by a second, and I think it's been a few years, and the fact that she was, I believe, 4th at our Olympic trials in 2012, and you know, she's going to be one of the major factors going into the Olympic trials in 2016. I think she's got to feel really good about today's performance.
I'd say so. We'll be back with more coverage here on NBC5 of the 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Stick around.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alicia Roman here on Columbus Drive. Thank you so much for watching NBCChicago.com and Cozy TV. Columbus Drive, this is where the action was all underway just about an hour, 2 hours ago, when we had the elite runners going by, then the second wave of runners passing us by. Now you can see behind me, the barriers have been broken down and traffic is allowed to resume here on this vantage point of Columbus Drive. But this is where we started things off within the first mile of the 26.2 miles of this race. It's been a wonderful day for the race, as we've seen temperatures all morning long in the low to mid 40s with plenty of sunshine area wide. Here's a look at that forecast as we continue to see the runners going through the 10 o'clock, 10:30 hour through Adams Street, over in the West Loop, down Damon through Taylor Street. Temperatures will be in the low 50s. As we head toward 12 o'clock, 12:30, rounding about 18th Street, Archer Avenue, and wrapping up this race as they come back up Michigan Avenue and Roosevelt, temperature by 2 o'clock expected to be right around 54 degrees. So we are in the 40s now, low 50s at the noon hour, and then right around the low to mid 50s at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, when some of those runners will be finishing the race at that time. The sunshine stays with us, so that's good news. We stay nice and dry throughout the rest of the afternoon. We have mostly sunny skies now, but then more clouds to move in later today. Rain free for this race. It looks like the rain will hold off until later on this afternoon and evening, especially after the 4 o'clock hour. So we have another race underway with dry conditions, and it's worth mentioning that the Chicago Marathon is a green marathon too, one of the largest green marathons here in the world. So that's good news as well. We have some sustainability here and staying green for the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Dry conditions, as I mentioned, throughout the rest of the day, but the winds will stay out of the southeast, anywhere from 5 to 15 miles per hour. That's it for me here on Columbus Drive. I'll check back in with you in a few moments.
Thanks. Oh, good. Okay.
It has been a glorious day here along the shores of Lake Michigan at the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Our men's winner from Kenya, Eliud Kipchoge. Amazing performance on his part. And on the women's side, fellow Kenyan Rita Jeptu, who just crossed the finish line moments ago after a well-run race.
We can say the first American man in a new PR of 2:11:20, Bobby Curtis, former Villanova grad, now with the Hanson Brooks Distance Project in Rochester, Michigan, outside Detroit, one of the great programs in the country. And Bobby, former NCAA champion from Villanova, and his personal best was 2:13:24 from Fukuoka, Japan at the end of last year in December. He brings it down by 2 full minutes.
Wow.
Which means that tells me that there's more in the tank for him as well.
Yeah, big time when you set a personal best by 2 minutes that he's got to feel very happy about today. And we had such good conditions for things, and here we
Kipchoge's
are
victory,
watching Kipchoge come in through the finish line. And Kipchoge, let's talk a little bit about his training group. Remember, there's about 20 athletes that he runs with in Kenya, and the fact that one of his training partners is Emmanuel Mutai, who ran the second fastest time in the world 2 weeks ago in Berlin, just tells you how talented and how much good training they're actually doing in that camp.
Well, it's interesting when the guy says, well, I did hit my target, but I won, so a victory's a victory. But they're what they do is it's like anything else in a very small community, that small world of the top-end Kenyan marathoning. They compare one another with one another. And the victory's one thing, yes, but they all compare their times. It's like when they go to a bar and have a drink, or in their training runs, they talk about such things.
Well, when your peer is running a world record, and then you fall 5 seconds off of that world record, then doggone it, I've got to run faster.
And Dathan, it looked like somebody taught Eliud how to picture yourself having success, because when he came across the finish line, he was all ready to do that. Well, he had it down.
He's been at this level for 11 years now, you know, and you know, they always tell you that, you know, don't hit your watch. Don't, you know, it's about the presentation too. You want to have those, you want people to remember your victories, and so you come across looking great like that, and you know that guy is, I mean, he's one of the best in the world.
Now, remember, he was 18 years old when he was the world track champion at 5,000 meters in Paris in 2003. So he's been at that world-class level, as you said, for a long, long period of time. At 29, and he's still got room to grow as a marathon runner.
Did he have an epiphany and said to himself, I don't need to do this track stuff anymore? There's nothing.
The money's not on the track. The money's on the road.
Exactly. I think that's where the big money is, and so, you know, that's the natural progression. People usually do that when they get older, but when it's harder too, though, you know, like there's so many guys on the road, so you can get those big paychecks, but it's harder to get them.
Right.
I think the epiphany came when the prize money was $100,000 for winning a race instead of $5,000.
Yeah. Kenyans don't love running. It's their job. It hurts. Yeah. It hurts like it hurts everyone to train this hard. They love what it does for them. Do you want to? So they say, listen, you want to be a subsistence farmer, or do you want to get really rich being a marathon runner? Well, let me weigh those two. Maybe I'll be the marathon runner. When every fifth guy in the neighborhood is a champion, you think you can be a champion.
But that's why they're very good too. Those are the heroes of their, you know, those are the heroes in that culture.
Right.
And so, you know, that's who they look up to.
Kids want to be that when they grow up.
Be like Eliud.
And let's go to Zoraida Zambala now. She is in the winner's circle with Rita Jeptu. Zoraida?
So, Rita, I know that you're kind of getting yourself together. Congratulations. We're very excited. Chicago loves you. Second year in a row winning. How do you feel?
Actually, I want to thank God, and I want to thank my fans here in Chicago. I was so happy because I have fun since I start the race. So I mean, I am I am the queen of the Chicago. So I'm happy, and I'm happy again to win second time in Chicago Marathon.
Well, you are the queen of Chicago. How was the course for you today?
Actually, today I was trying to push, and it's very difficult because it is very, very wind. Yeah, so to start until 30K, I was like to push, but okay, the lady is still strong, but nobody need to push. So it's everybody looking for me. So I was thinking, oh, let me try my best to push, and then I.
So at the end, did you find it easier at the end then?
Yeah, sure.
So you are now the first ever man or woman to win 4 straight World Marathon Majors. Congratulations to you. How do you feel about that?
I'm feel happy. Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you, Rita. We're very proud of you. Chicago loves you. Come back and do a repeat next year.
I hope.
All right, Mike, back to you.
All right, thanks, Zoraida. Congratulations, Rita. And let it be said that on October 12th, 2014, Rita Jeptu was the queen of Chicago. We'll be back with more of our coverage here on NBC5 right after this break. Stay with us. Okay, thank you very much, Kai. Have a good time yourself, too. That's part of the deal. All right, let's go to Stephen Holt in the award ceremony.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much. Rita Jeptu, the women's winner. Eliud Kipchoge, the men's winner. I'm also joined here with Kerry Pinkowski and Tim Maloney with Bank of America. Kerry, I'm going to let you take over from here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stefan. Ladies and gentlemen, our 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon champion, the women's division, Rita Jeptu. And our 2014 men's champion with a time of 2:04.05, Eliud Kipchoge. There you have it, our 2014 champions. And also Rita has just solidified the World Marathon Majors Championship, so congratulations. This is a nice day for both of you. Ladies and gentlemen, our 2014 Bank of America Chicago Marathon champions.
Oh, we're getting watches?
Tag Heuer watches. What's the name of these?
And there we have it, the 2014 winners, Bank of America Chicago Marathon. A spectacular day here in Grant Park. The finishers came across the line not too long ago. We have some more finishers coming across as well. The champions posing for some pictures with Carrie and Tim holding flowers and the hardware, their new medals, which they certainly earned here today in Chicago. Running across the streets, 26.2 miles. We're going to send it back to you guys in the booth.
Okay, and guess what? In addition to the medals, congratulations to Eliud and Rita. They're going to get these beautiful Tag Heuer watches. That's these things.
And we thought they were for us.
Tilt.
Darn
there
it.
they are. This is not in my job description. I'm not a tilter. Okay, that's as good as I can
right.
do. Oh, good.
Presentation model.
Behind door number 3.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we're joined now from yeah, I don't know. They didn't. Did you ever get a watch like that when you won? Either of you?
I got one of those at the LA Marathon one year, and like an idiot, I gave it to my brother. Kick me now.
Never saw it again.
Okay.
Never saw it again.
Back from the hinterlands, Greg, your impression of the men's race?
You know, I was amazed at how comfortable Kipchoge ran this race. And seriously, I do think once Bekele dropped off, it was like, oh, I'm winning this. He was smiling out there. In those last few miles when they made those surges, he was totally under control.
So
totally
you
under
think
control.
the only guy he feared was Bekele?
I think so. I think once he got past that point where he was alone with, you know, obviously Kitwara and Chumba, I think he felt more than comfortable.
Well, then he proved it.
Joni, I don't know if you're a diary person or not, but what will you write down on your way home from maybe the 3 best things you saw from the women's race today?
Well, it was Rita's race to win, and that she did indeed. But it was really a 4-person race for most of the race. And there were 3 women coming in with sub-2:20 times, Rita, Florence, and Mari. And they gave Rita a run for her money, literally and figuratively. But at 23 miles, Rita realized how far off the pace she was, and she just turned on the jets and off she went. But I will also remember Amy Hastings' race here today.
Say, how important was that?
An incredible American race for her, and you know, she kept that race honest. I mean, she fell way back, and then she came up, and the woman in the lead looked at her like, what the heck are you doing here? We better get going. And, you know, if Amy had waited a little bit longer, she could have been in the top 3. But what happens with the marathon, it's all about patience, and she was not quite patient enough, but she'll be back.
Yeah, what does it do for her confidence?
I think it boosts her confidence considerably because she was out of the race, and then she was back in the race, and then she did not fall all that far behind. And, you know, a top 4 finish here in Chicago in a world major event on a beautiful day. What else could you ask for?
Ed, I know we talked about this beforehand as preparing for today's coverage. The importance, not necessarily, sometimes we put the focus too much on records, world records, course records, instead of just watching the race itself. And I saw we thought had some good races.
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes you just need to throw the watches away and let's get back to good old-fashioned racing. And I think that's what we saw today on both the women's and the men's side. You know, we saw the men, enough good men. Kerry does a phenomenal job of putting together men's and women's fields. We had enough good people in each category that we had great races. And listening to Rita's interview afterwards, she said the wind was fairly significant for her. And so the fact that the wind was pushing them back a little bit, a day like that, sometimes you just forget about the wind and you race against the people against you. I think ultimately we saw our pre-race favorites, the people that we pretty much had tabbed, went on and ended up pulling it out. And that's the sign of a true champion when you are the favored person and then you come through in an event like a marathon where so many things can go wrong. Things went right for Rita Jeptu and Eliud Kipchoge.
And as you pointed out earlier during the course of the race, you know, we saw this great weather. We're talking about course records that win.